Good morning. Good morning. We are live from the Hive. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. We had a impromptu change in. Well, hold on, where'd you go, Petal? She's right there. Okay, we had an impromptu change in the way things were going to be laid out. Now, if you refresh, I don't know if you've been here for a minute, but you refresh, you'll see that now live from the Hive this morning is part of the Purple Rhymes with Orange fundraiser, where we are helping our friend Purple Rhymes with Orange, our lovely and gorgeous Triceratops lady, with her car problems. There is a GoFundMe link now tagged right into the live chat, so you can just click on that and it should take you right over that fundraiser. Just give a couple bucks; it'd be great. We are live. We are here having fun, taking over for Deb because she is wiped out. Deb has been going hard for hours and hours. Jenny Morgan, you beautiful lady. You have been going hard on this for a while too. Our little community is always willing to kind of step up for these types of things. So I'm glad that I got invited to be part of this. I was originally invited to be part of this from the very beginning, but I was partnered with Ben and we were doing a medical myths, which we're doing later tonight. So I will be plugging that too and having some of my peeps drop a how does Sandy not have a wrench? Did you make a new account, Sandy? I need to get Sandy a wrench because Sandy helps to share the news. There we go. All right. So yeah, we're going to be part of that tonight on Ben's channel. So watch for that. We are going to be talking about the laryngeal nerve, the one that runs down the full length of the it comes all the way up and then all the way back down because where how it evolved and where it evolved in our biology, and it was helpful for it to be between those bones for our early ancestors. But we'll talk about that tonight, so don't miss it. God, I hate that little line from the blinds that goes across my face. This one right here, see it? Oh, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I can't wait to get my desk over here, and then I'll be sitting right there, and it will not be shining on me when I do this show. I also want to thank whoever the heck got me the pride flag and pride or not pride flag, the trans flag and trans necklace. I needed some kind of ally boostership or something to let people know that I'm safe to talk to about these things. So it came with this little pendant, which is gorgeous and cute, and a full-size flag, which I have hanging up there over my double windows, so people driving by can see it. Because I am right now, I'm signaling to the trans community that I am here. I am here. We are here. Thank you. It's just something from my wish list that people send me. I am probably going to be changing my earrings out to my bee earrings that someone sent me too. I also got some spider earrings. They're like dangly for like Halloween though. Well, you know, I'm going to wear them year round. I'm the bug lady. Actually, hold on. I'm going to show them to you. All right. Yeah, here they are. I think those cute. They're from Spirit. My son, can you see me on there? You can see part of me, huh? Thank you, Jade. You are always gorgeous yourself. It's this two little spider. I need to pull it back over so I can see. I'm holding it too high. There we go. Yeah, there's some cute little dangly spider earrings. They will be gracing my... Oh, goodness. Just a second. When I bump something on this desk, it makes my camera go all blurry, and I have to go out here and reset it. So hang in there with me, and hopefully we'll be able to get that. It's got its autofocus, which is great for when I'm all bouncing around and moving around. But yeah, when I bump the desk, it makes it go squirrely. Did that work? Okay, yeah. Okay, there we go. Hi, I'm back and not blurry. And let me show you those again without it being all blurry. What? Could I see? Okay. And I bumped the desk again. Yeah, like that. Just little spider dangly earrings. And I got the bee ones that are just studs, which we will probably be wearing next time you see me on camera. I am using the camera that was gifted to me with the laptop, Sandy. It's external, yeah. The internal camera's kind of suck. Well, the internal camera does this nice effect. If I turn this, if it's completely dark in here and I turn my ring light on to a green setting and use the internal built-in camera for the laptop, it gives me night vision. It's really cool. I tested it out the other day. I was wondering about. It's like, so we got a green light here, which is the green light layer is the is when you're looking through night vision. That's the spectrum of light that it's going to pick up the most. So I thought it would work, and it was really cool that it did. I can play with that. You know how I like. Well, I used to do on my, and I will get back into my edited videos, of course, once I get my computer. I'm so mad about not having my computer yet, but that's okay. That's all right. This laptop is working great, and I could see all my beautiful, beautiful friends out here and engage with them. And absolutely happy to be taking part in this fundraiser. 20 people here. Hopefully. Sandy, are you keeping track of the quantity on that? Is somebody out there keeping track on that? So yeah, with the change of direction, I'm still going to keep the same topics today. I'm sorry if the people coming over from the fundraiser aren't into watching me dunk on young Earth creationist and spiritualism and things like that, and cryptozoology, all that wild stuff, because I really like to do that, and that's what my channel, what we do over here a lot. We are science educators in the Hive, and we like to take bad ideas or bad information or bad education and use that, have some fun, and learn some real science about the topics. So today, before I get started on anything, usually I start with CryptoCorner right out of the gate. But last night I had something fun happen. So I don't know. Again, I have more people here than I usually do because people popping over from the fundraiser, but let me see here. You all remember, come on. I have this pulled up too. I'm sorry. I'm just a mess this morning. Yeah, there we go. And there we go. Sorry. Messing with my setup. Danish debater. Good to see you. Okay. So yeah, there we go. You all remember this guy, right? You all remember Chris. Real at the Wheel Chris. He was anti-evolution, or not anti-evolution, hey Math Pig, good to see you. Hey Purple. Hey. He was anti-atheist was his main thing. Just talking about how stupid he thought being an atheist was. That was his whole shtick there for a while. So I was reaching out to him for engagement. Me and Robbie both reached out to engagement. I shared the receipts about that because he asked me to. He said, "No, we can't. I'm not going on your stream. Actually, said I'm not going on your podcast." For me and Robbie, I had Robbie reach out because Robbie's platform is more for engagement than mine is. This is mostly me. It's mostly me on this channel. You might see a little panel every now and then, but usually it's just Bree all by herself, just talking about nerdy stuff. But I go on MathPic's channel when I want to engage with people. I go on, I go on other people's panels and stuff too. But if I'm setting up an engagement, I'll try to set it up on MathPic because Robbie and me, we have been working this YouTube algorithm game together for 2 years, and I am not going to leave him out in the cold when it gets an opportunity to have some traction in the community and show what we can do and how we can bring new talking points to the community. So the idea of bringing this new individual to the attention of our little, I like this one better, of our little community. I was excited for it. He said no, he's not going to do that. So we were scamming him, trying to milk him for content. Apparently, that only applies to when it's an atheist channel, though, because check this out.
How can you be sure you know anything? They'll say, okay, that's fine, but if you're going to prove things with math science,
let me know if they're loud enough.
Taking a leap of faith to believe these things are real enough to prove some patterns to the universe. So you have to either say, okay, this reality exists, and we're going to accept it at face value.
Anyway, so as you can see, yeah, I'm your little token, trans chick, Robbie. Well, no, because you have lots of token trans chicks that drop by your community. Matter of fact, you're one of the few communities that I would say that there may be a balance of cis and trans women that show up in your panel. So you have a good balance when it comes to that. So that's okay. Anyway, so as you can see, our friend Chris is absolutely cool with popping into Otangelo's stream and his channel and engaging with someone who agrees with him about some of these ideas. So, yeah, I have a channel that's subscribed to God Talk. I like to keep tabs on who's showing up over there, see what Tangelo has brewing, see what kind of arguments there's being put out, that kind of stuff. You know, farming for content for Life in the Hive and such, as we do. No, I was teasing Robbie. It's an inside joke, Danish debater, from a stream we had a couple years ago where me and Maya were trying to pin Robbie down. It was a fun time. Danish debater. It's just an inside joke. So yeah, I subscribed to God Talk. I couldn't believe who I was seeing when I popped in there to see what was going on, because this guy made it sound like he had no interest in coming into someone's panel stream. And this is Otangelo's panel stream. And behold, here's Chris talking his same nonsense.
Or not. And if you don't believe this reality exists, now the burden of proof is even further on you to explain or come up with something else. Because at the end of the day, this is all we have. People would say, well, in the future, we might know more. And it's like, well, yeah.
Right, in the future, we might know more. So let's pretend that that until we know more that it was done by a magical being, because that makes the most sense to Chris. Not that some kind of natural processes that we see in effect today, where stemmed this all out. No, it has to be a magical being, because yeah, of course it does. Anyway, I'm not going to watch this whole thing, but I wanted to show you something. How far into this do I need to go? Okay, this crumpy old gunt is in here. But I pop in, and There he goes. Did you see that? I popped in. There he goes. Boom, he's gone. I was in the side chat for a while before I came in. I said, bzz, my normal bee sound, as breeze want to do. You can see that, right? Yeah. So I did my little bee and said, Christopher will come to talk to Tangela. I'm grumpy. I have my arms crossed. I'm sad because I wanted to talk to Chris. Christopher will come to talk to Tangelo on his channel, but he tucks his tail about talking to me. And Otangelo was like, yes, come in. Yep, see, hi, Bree. You can join the link above. Well, he called me B, but same difference. I don't mind being called B. He gave me his StreamYard link. So I came in. Let's watch that again in real time. And let's slow it down. Let's slow down his exodus before Bree. I'm going to turn the volume all the way up too for maximum effect. The people talking in slow-mo here. Raw, this is going to sound awesome. It's moving because Otangelo's eyes move. Maybe I went back too far to be going this slow.
Oh, yeah. How do you know? I did not have to name them, sir. I did not have to name them.
Wait, here it comes. Maybe that's a little too loud.
You cannot.
Oh, I skipped it. There we go. Here.
Okay, so why do we not just stick to these three options until we know
There I am.
other options?
Okay, and I'm smiling. Look at my smile. I'm like, hey, Chris, it's me. And gone.
Where the hell Chris leaves as soon as I get here? I called him out weeks and weeks ago to come talk to me. He wouldn't. Hopefully he comes back. We need to talk. Hey, Grumpy.
Hello.
We're talking about what prime mover necessary being.
Yeah, but Angela, you cannot.
All right, so there is, and we get me and I hang out for, let's see, we're at 31 minutes here. Yeah, I hang out for like a good half an hour with Otangelo, just talking prime mover, thinking maybe Chris's connection went out. He'll come back because this was, as you can see, this was legitimately a stream Otangelo put up, and he says that later on. I mean, you can go watch this. He says that later on that this was a stream he put up just for Chris to come in. But somehow at about the 30-minute mark, about halfway through the stream, standard stream time, an hour, he decided to bail because Bumblebee showed up. Robbie did say he sent the receipts in Twitter. Let me see about pulling that up. I'm going to unshare though, because you all aren't seeing my whole. You are not seeing my whole Twitter account. So bear with me just a minute, because maybe I get some racy messages and there's some stuff that cannot pop up on your screens or on my screen to be shared onto your screen that I share with my friends. Not what did I say? NSF, not safe for work. Yeah. Yeah, here we go. I'm just going to read it. You have to trust me that this was. Yeah, so he sent him. I set them up to talk, and he said, yeah, he told me his comments were, "Don't back out, don't back out." He said, "Only cowards back out." So I was like, "I won't back out, I won't back out." We set it up. There's too much nuance for me to read this right now. I did read read all the receipts on that previous stream though, so you can definitely go check that out. Can someone drop? Oh, never mind, you did. I was just looking. Say someone drop a link to us to this live stream in the chat there, but it's excuse me, it's already been done. So you guys are awesome, on top of your game this morning. I guess that's what you expect when we have a well planned out, well thought out fundraiser. And I'm excited about being part of it. So again, if you haven't gone and clicked the little link to go out and just give a couple bucks to our friend Purple, just go do it. It's a couple dollars. You friggin' can of coffee or whatever, that much. Just throw a couple dollars at it. Every little bit helps. We're all a conglomerate here. We all have our own levels that we can contribute at, but if you can contribute at all, please do so. Purple, they just need to be able to get around this winter. It gets cold up there. Otherwise, they're going to have to come down here and hang out with me for the winter, which actually the weather's not that much different here. I'm actually really close to where Purple lives. Not really close. I guess on a global scale, I'm really close. On the U.S. Midwestern scale, I'm really close because we judge things by basically it's about the distance. The distance between Chicago and St. Louis is a max distance for a weekend trip. So they're not much further than, or I think they're probably closer than that to me. I might be wrong, but anyway, I've made trips up into that area before. It doesn't take long. Hey, Doc Fearsome, good to see you. Regios is in the house too. Good to see you as well, my friend. All right, so that was our by his own definition, our cowardly friend Chris, who, if there was any doubt. I hate you, stop shining on my face. If there was ever any doubt from our previous interactions that Chris was a coward, there should be a sponge now, because we just watched him bolt at my presence. Pedal didn't like me saying bolt for some reason. All right, so is it time for Cryptic Corner then? I think it is. I think that's what we've all been waiting for. Now today's Cryptic Corner is a little weirder. And that's fun to say, because it's Cryptic Corner. How does it get weirder than, that's like saying it's weirder than weird, right? But no, it's weird because there's a real phenomena that we're talking about today. This is something that has some basis in reality. This is a good question. Let's see. Yeah, Chicago's day drive is not a day drive from here. It'd have to be a weekend trip from here because it's about a 6-hour drive. I mean, you could do it. People do it and go to concerts and stuff. But it's not optimal. It's 12 hours both ways, so it'll wear you out doing that. But yeah, people do it for concerts and ball games and things like that all the time. All right, so yeah, we're done with Chris. So what we're talking about today is a phenomena called tulpamancy. Now, tulpas are pretty represented in pop culture, more so than a lot of Eastern mysticism and things like that. and it's from a what's called a Theosophy. It's a religion that was established in the United States, so it's not actually a organic to the Tibetan origins. They've kind of taken the word and added it to this to what this phenomena is. Let me read what they have here in the Wikipedia. Just kind of a basic rundown to give us an idea. It says tulpa is a concept in theosophy, mysticism, and the paranormal of an object or being that is created through spiritual or mental power. Modern practitioners who call themselves tulpamancers use the term to refer to a type of willed imaginary friend, which practitioners consider to be sentient and relatively independent. All right. So there's two schools of thought on the tulpa. First, we'll explain what a tulpa is. And I need to clear my throat. I got a little frog in my throat, so I'm going to just mute real quick, and I'll be right back. Hopefully I was expressive enough that you understood all of that. I would think so. Why wouldn't you understand that? That's Bumblebee's dance language, because I use the bee language, and that's how I communicate. Okay, so a tulpa is like a thought form, I guess, is the best jumping off point to explore this idea. It's a thought form. It's something you create and focus on creating in your mind. Usually people are making an entity that's traditionally like human, and willing it to be present and existent. And then, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot to grab my book. That's all right. Anyway, so a willed entity that exists and shares the recesses of your mind with you. Now, why would somebody do that? There's a lot of claims about what having a tulpa will benefit you. In what ways it'll aid you in your lives. There's claims that it's going to have access to regions of your subconscious that you can't remember, things like that. It'll help you remember the stuff you've forgotten. It'll help you by giving you almost a second set of neuron responses in your brain when you're assessing information. So it's like having a second brain looking at it. Maybe you're looking at what you're reading, what's written, but the tulpa is assessing the handwriting and trying to figure out who wrote it, things like that. So it's an idea basically like splitting your brain between two entities. But the spirit, so there's the spiritual side, and then there's the neuroscience side. The neuroscience side gets really, really interesting, but we're going to look at the spiritual side first, because that's up until fairly recently. That was what a tulpa was. This idea of it just specifically being a neurological response hasn't entered the popular domain and hasn't entered popularity in media, so to speak. It's always been there and it's been studied, but as far as media was concerned, a tulpa in popular culture, a tulpa was always a spiritual creature, basically a thought form that you gave essence to, that you created this entity. And there are obviously claims that a tulpa will develop its own personality and characteristics and its own ambitions and its own drives, becoming independent from its master, I guess, or creator. Now, when we think of that, we have to keep in mind that it's still just something that's existing inside the mind of the person who created it. Any interaction that it has with the physical world should be expected to be only through the physical body of the creator. But people will claim things like poltergeist activity in association with their tulpas as well, similar to ghostly phenomena that would indicate that at least within the lore, that it's an actual spiritual creature that is able to engage with and interact with the physical world at some point after its creation and into the development of its independence. People claim these things. This is not the mainstream. This is not the mainstream of tulpomancy as it's practiced today. Most, if not all, the tulpomancers that I have watched or engaged with have a completely different concept of what a tulpa is. What I'm giving you now is kind of the pop culture tulpa, or the traditional tulpa, if you will, because you got to remember this comes from Eastern mysticism. And as such, it is going to have some mystical properties. It's going to be associated with things like auras and astral projection and those other kinds of Eastern metaphysical mysticism ideas. Astral projection is what this really kind of ties into, because astral projection is another, basically, like where you create in your mind, and that's a place you create, a place of escape when you do the astral projection, or a place of reflection, or whatever your goal is when you do that meditation and enter into that state. Now, people have always claimed as well that the astral projection and the astral planes are a real thing as well, a physical place where you can visit and people can interact with. Obviously, that's never been shown to be real, and is probably a topic for another day. We could do a whole stream on astral projections or the Akashic records. Let me know if you'd like to see me dig into those. If you don't know what the Akashic records are, similar to these other concepts, except for the Akashic records is basically a library that on the astral plane that contains all the knowledge of the world, like, that you could ever want. Allegedly, I was into New Age stuff for most of my late teens, and I struggled to find that Akashic record, because I'm a nerd and I like books and I like knowledge, and I wanted to find all the knowledge. I wanted all the knowledge. I was not able to locate this fabled library. But I digress. I'm getting off topic because we need to be talking about tulpas. Are there tulpas in the Akashic records, or what I'm calling the Akashic library? Are there tulpas floating around in there? Are there tulpas on the astral plane? I don't know, but they're strongly linked with the same occult practices of the Far East. But it's Tibetan monks and such that are most famous for practicing tulpomancy. Or are they? Because no. For a long time, Tibetan monks were, for decades and decades, that was the go-to image of a tulpomancer. Tibetan monk making his own Tibetan monk double to help him become more enlightened or whatever. That was the idea of a tulpa. But in I don't know when was the year for this. Okay. I had some more information pulled up on this, and I'm going to be frank with you guys. I accidentally closed a whole bunch of tabs when I was rearranging things for the fundraiser, so I'm sorry about that. But give me a second here. Okay, it was 20. Come on. Anyway, it's been sometime within the last 8 years. I'm not sure exactly what the time frame is when this phenomena started, but let's delve into it. I'm just going to pull it right up. Tulpas became a thing among among the brony community, among the My Little Pony fans, the adult male My Little Pony fans. They became infatuated with the concept of creating tulpas of their favorite ponies. So, as of now, the most prominent people practicing tulpamancy are creating pony tulpas based on characters from Friendship is Magic, or another popular group is the Pokemon fans who are creating their own Pokemon tulpas. So that light is killing me. Hopefully it goes away. Go away, go away. So they are, I just need to hang something in front of there, I guess. So they are creating tulpas that aren't like independent thought forms, or couldn't even. Petal, you get up on the screen. Here's Petal. She's here. She's hanging out over here. They are creating tulpas that don't have a free personality that they generate and develop over time. They're creating tulpas that have a preset characteristics. So I don't know if that even qualifies the same process to generate these alleged entities, because you're basically at that point it's just you have an imaginary friend that's a character from the TV show, right? It's not something independent and developing on its own with its own will and drivers and force. That's one of the key characteristics of a tulpa, is that it wants to be independent and do its own thing, and that's what you need to let it do in order to access the subconscious. It's kind of let it do its own thing, because it is an extension. If you allegedly, when you create it and you start off, it starts off with like a basic mold in your brain, right? That you have an idea of what this entity is going to be like. But once you get to a certain point in its development, you're supposed to let it go do its own thing, because it has to develop its own way in order to be able to attain tulpaship, I guess, to where it can actually interact with you as an independent entity and assist you by accessing parts of your brain. Whether there's any truth to this or not, there's been some psychological studies on it, and obviously we're going to talk about that too. But let me, first and foremost, this is not, oh gosh, why am I not sharing again? Sorry, let's see. There we go. So there's a subreddit for tulpamancy. People talking about all kinds of stuff. Presence after quitting. That's the tulpa won't go away. Just decided to call it quits, and then the tulpa wouldn't go away. People imagine their first tulpas and significant others. I don't know. I would not. I don't know. Would you, if you had a tulpa, would you tell your spouse that, hey, yeah, I have an imaginary friend? I don't know. Maybe. I would. You think if you're creating this thought form, though, this entity, it's a thought form, and you're driving the ship, that you could set boundaries for it. You think you could set boundaries within the framework of its creation to say, hey, oh, you only come hang out with me when I'm sitting on the toilet, something like that, right? Just to keep things under control so it doesn't interfere with your normal life. Let's see. If you have a monogamous love in your background through religion, culture, or that's just what feels right to you, does having a significant other and a tulpa who is close to you in most of the same ways feel a bit like cheating? How do you harmonize both relationships? Okay, well, your tulpa is you, or part of your brain, so you should do your best to love it. But it's easy to, I guess, I shouldn't say it's easy. I don't have any idea. I've never made a tulpa. It'd be, for me, I feel like it'd be easy to distinguish between an independent physical person who's separate from me and how I feel about them from a fabricated person who is a part of me. I have a significant other, my husband. I met my husband when I was 18, but my tulpa has been with me since I was about 9. I have told my husband multiple times about my tulpa, but he doesn't believe in that kind of stuff. So he isn't really aware of how deep of a connection I share with another being, and the fact that only I have these other being experiences feels transgressive. But I wish it didn't. It doesn't sound like your husband feels like it. As to me, if I was married to a woman and she had a significant other, or not significant other, if I was her significant other and we were, monogamous together, I would not consider time spent with your tulpa, with your fabricated entity, as a transgression against me. I wouldn't. I couldn't even think. It'd be like, you're spending too much time inside your own head. No, that's not how a relationship works. You have autonomy. Your tulpa, as a extension of your own mind, is a part of you and part of your own personal autonomy. No one should be telling you what you can and should do with your own body. You do what feels right. So yes, sweetie, you don't worry about your husband. You just have fun with your tulpa. Now, here's the description of the group. The subreddit. Ever wonder what it would be like to have a mental companion who can think and act on their own? That's what a tulpa is. Discuss tulpas. Share your experience with having tulpas and give advice to fellow tulpa creators here. Please read the FAQ, blah, blah, blah. Please note that we are not mental health professionals. If you are having issues with your mental health, please get professional help. Do not ask us. Okay, that's fun. All right, then we have how to create a tulpa. WikiHow. I mean, that's the go-to, right? When you're learning how to do something, you have to go to the WikiHow and find out. So you've heard about tulpas, the independent thought forms that share your brain like an imaginary friend, but have their own thoughts and feelings and ideas independent from your own. Having a tulpa may come with many benefits, although many start creating one simply because they want a companion that understands them better than anyone else. Tulpas are often associated with My Little Pony lovers, but many different tulpa exist. So step one, everybody get out your tulpa mats, and we will begin. We will begin our journey into tulpamancy. I hope everybody is on board, has your popcorn, because here we go. Okay. Think long and hard before you create a tulpa. Your tulpa will be a lifelong companion and will be with you for the rest of your life. I repeat, your tulpa will be a lifelong companion and will be with you for the rest of your life. Spend some time thinking about it, because if you change your mind after creating a tulpa, you could get rid of them, but tulpas are people with their own personality and thoughts. Getting rid of a tulpa is killing them. No, it's not. And that means you're killing a person. No, it doesn't. Making a tulpa is no easy decision. All right. Step 2, plan out your tulpa. You can start by thinking about the form or personality you want them to have. You don't have to choose a permanent form or personality for them, as it is very likely that they will deviate from what you originally planned. Yeah, I think that's part of the framework of the whole idea is letting it develop its own independence. Let me get rid of this ad. It's taking up a quarter of the screen. Plan your tulpa's appearance. You can put out your tulpa's appearance by drawing if it helps, or just visualizing them. You should not create a tulpa based on any real human, living or dead. If you create a tulpa based off a fictional character, make sure to let your tulpa know that they are not that character. They just have their appearance. Yeah, because you don't want your tulpa to think, oh, yes, I'm really Pinkie Pie from My Little Pony. All right, now we start imagining. Plan your tulpa's personality. One way to think of a personality is simply list as many personality traits you want your tulpa to have. When you've thought about a form, you can either read these traits to the tulpa or meditate on them for a while. Few minutes on each to install them into your tulpa. You're installing them like software. Installing personality. Some people tend to skip the personality step, and that's fine. Your tulpa will develop their personality themselves. This can also deviate, but no worries. It's unlikely that their personality will deviate into something harmful. It's unlikely. That's how all the horror movies start. Visualize your tulpa. Sit down and close your eyes. Imagine your tulpa in your head. Look at them from any possible angle you can think of. Try to visualize every detail of their appearance. Be patient and take time visualizing them. And remember that some parts can be difficult, such as a face. Also remember, you can do this any way you want, whatever suits you best. When you visualize, you can either just visualize your tulpa in empty space, an imaginary place, or just the space in front of you. Try to touch your tulpa in your imagination. Try to feel their hair, if they have any. Because some tulpas might not have hair. Hey, don't shame tulpas about their appearance and the details of their body. When that step is complete, you will be able to feel your tulpa's form on or surface by applying a little pressure. But you won't be able to touch them as if they were a solid physical thing. Your hands will go through. Who knew your hands would go through your imaginary friend, right? Create a scent if you wish. This is getting fun. Let's make our tulpa stank. I'm going to make my tulpa smell like fresh herb. Creating a scent if you wish. If you want to, you can associate a scent with your tulpa. You can associate a scent with your tulpa during this step. Make sure the same scent remains whenever you smell your tulpa. Well, you all wanting to create smelly tulpas? Is everybody here to create a smelly tulpa with me? I think that's what my side chat is into, right? You guys are into smelly tulpas. Okay. Visualize your tulpa's movement. Imagine how your tulpa moves and walks. Think about the gestures they use. Work on their expressions last. Try to imagine a conversation with them and think about what their reaction would be. Always remember, each of these steps takes time. Never rush. Ooh, Wonderland. Here we go. If you want, you can create a place in your imagination called a Wonderland. This is a place where you can work on your tulpa and will be the place that your tulpa can live in. You can be there too. Just imagine yourself there with your tulpa. You can do anything you like there. It's your own world. It can be very helpful because if you are in a busy place, like a crowd of people, or doing something like cycling somewhere, it can be difficult to visualize your tulpa anywhere. so they can rest in the wonderland until you are able to visualize them again. No way. My tulpa is definitely going to be able to fly. No, Petal, what are you jumping down for? Get back up here. Petal's being silly. She jumped down off the microphone. Get on that. Because usually on my old desk, the microphone was a little bit higher off the desk than this. This is actually not even on a desk. It's on a dresser right now, a chest of drawers. That's what I have to work with. All right. Let your tulpa edit the wonderland. They can change it to anything with it whenever they want, just as you can. So, yeah, this is just like what I was talking about with the astral projection stuff. You visualize a place look within your mind that separates you, and it can be a healthy tool. So I'm not going to shame them. Excuse me. I'm not going to shame them too much for that. That's good advice to learn to create something like that in your mind. Sometimes we need that place. Notice that this tulpa this person created has long hair and elf ears and appears to not be wearing any clothing. He's got a naked elf chick tulpa. Stop stealing all my ideas, dude. Talk to your tulpa. You can talk to them inside your own mind or out loud. The subject doesn't matter at all. You can talk to them about the weather, your day at work or school, your friends, a TV show you like. As long as you direct your talking to the tulpa, you'll do fine. The process is gradual, and first contact from your tulpa can be difficult to discern. They won't necessarily jump into speaking full sentences right away. This is completely optional, but you could use a method like parroting or puppeting, though some people find this controversial. It's a thing you created in your own mind. How can it be controversial? They're going to keep making the claims that it's an independent entity from your mind. It's still you. It's still even if it's independent of your main personality and brain state, it is still you. So what you do to it, you can do anything to it that you would willingly do to yourself, including puppet yourself, because I puppet myself out of bed every morning because I'm not a morning person. I have to. Bree wants to stay and snuggled under the covers, but I have to. The rational part of my brain has to puppet her out of bed and dress her and get her makeup on so she can get to work on time. That's just the way the world turns. Sometimes, if you are not sure if the answer you got was you parroting or your tulpa, always assume it was your tulpa. Always assume. That's sound advice, right? Always assume. I would say no matter what the situation, assuming is probably not a good idea. You can infer, maybe. I say that as someone who assumes on a daily basis. I yawn. Sorry. I make assumptions all the time. I don't recommend it. You can't stop yourself from doing it, but it's something you should try to mitigate with rational and reasoning. This step can take a while. Be patient. Now, this dude's tulpa is no longer a naked elf chick because it looks like it's the same dude, right? He's an elf too. Is that the same guy? He's in a different t-shirt though. It has different hair. He is a different guy. He has this like a furry thing with a backwards hat and hoodie. Kind of looks like a furry, like a Fred Durst. It was a furry fox or something. After your tulpa talks, you can choose a voice for them if they haven't created one themselves. So how is it after the tulpa talks? How is it talking if it doesn't have a voice yet? You can create a completely new voice in your head, but it may be easier to pick a voice you know well enough to imagine it saying anything. Check sentience. Now, here's where things get weird. Are you ready? Determine whether your tulpa is sentient. Close your eyes and tell your tulpa you're opening your mind to them. Imagine them walking through a door that leads into your subconscious. Your tulpa can now see your memories, how you feel, and everything about you as a person. Don't do this right away, but wait until there's trust between you so that your tulpa won't take this for granted. Signs of sentience. Tulpa talks back to you with full sentences and has its own opinions. They may communicate with you in other ways as well, such as through emotions. Tulpa does things you didn't expect them to do. Um, so you're talking about making sure you build trust with it, but this is the next step right after you just learn to communicate with you, right? So I'm assuming I can't stop yawning. I'm assuming that this step is that between step 2 here, or yeah, between this step here and this step here, that there's supposed to be a long wait, I guess. Moving your tulpa into reality. Go for a walk and imagine your tulpa. You are so wild today. She wants to get back. I'm gonna let her go. She wants to go back up into the window. She's been hanging out in this window. She loves it. She likes looking outside and the sunshine and all that. So I'm gonna let her go. We'll continue the show without you, Petal. Go have fun. We're good. You are showed up for Dr. Ben's show later, though, so don't go too far, okay? Because I'll need you. We're talking a laryngeal nerve. Yes, I know you don't have a laryngeal nerve. Yeah, and you can't talk. I get it. I just like you want your emotional support. You're why I don't need a tulpa, Petal. So, but tulpas, unlike mantises, don't go wandering off in the middle of their creator's show. But you go and hang out in the window and watch the flowers and the bees. Just leave me here to do the show by myself. All right. Where were we? In time, you will learn to feel your tulpa's presence, even though you can't really see them. You can still feel where they are and what they are doing, and see them with your mind's eye. So now we're getting into some like woo concepts there. Your mind's eye, it's just where you visualize things in your brain. It's not mind's eye is like a new age term for it. Just where you form images in your brain. All right, connecting with others who have tulpa. So I'm not going to read that one because that's it. That's the step. That's all you need to do. It's all about imagining. It's basically just different. Imagine all these things in this order is what this instruction manual comes down to. So that's wiki. That's wiki how to create a tulpa. All right. So we've what is coming up here? Nope, not yet. Okay, so now that is wrapping up our cryptic corner for today. We looked at tulpas. We discussed what a tulpa is and how they are made. We've discussed differences between a tulpa as an actual spiritual entity and a thought form created purely as a psychological effect. We went and looked at a guide on how to create our own tulpas and went through all those steps, which I was not impressed with. But if you, whether watching this Friday on Cryptic Corner, watching this live right now on Live from the Hive, or watching a re-recording of or a restream of this at some later date, you decide that you want to create a tulpa, let us know in the comments how it goes and what the steps that you took were and if they worked. Let us know about your experience. If you think that my snark about creating tulpas was wrong, if something I said you have an answer to, please leave your comments below. I am very interested in this topic and the reality of it. My tulpa is topless, says Doc Fearsome. So eyes up here. Hey, I said eyes up here. My 4-foot-tall apple pie scented Godzilla tulpa is almost good to go. D, that is awesome. Keep us up to date on the status on your mini kaiju tulpa. This is a weird article. We were always advised against creating entities, something evil if not properly controlled. That when I was into New Age stuff, that was kind of the message I always got from my New Age crowd too. Was that, oh yeah, you don't want to create a thought form. It can be, or create an entity with your own as a thought form. It can turn evil, or it's actually a demon, or things like that. It's what you're doing is summoning a demon and giving it just a form, and it's going to pretend for you, things like that. So it's peculiar that this article is like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do this thing that confirmation bias and maladapted daydreaming, such a wonderful process. Yeah, there are probably some healthy aspects to this exercise, at least to the things like visualizing the place and visualizing ways to visualize accessing information from your brain and coming up with ways to do that. It's probably a healthy steps to take. So I'm in agreement there. But to apply some of this attributes that you're putting on here are a little more than I'm willing to suspend my disbelief for. Anyway, that was Cryptic Corner. Thank you for coming. Please remember to be kind and take care, and we'll see you next time. All right, so now we're on to, I think a lot of people maybe showed up for this. We're going to look at Donnie from Standing for Truth doing a presentation here for us. Let me blow this up. No, not full screen. I like doing it in theater mode. Just makes it easier for me to bounce back and forth, at least while I only have one screen. When I get two screens, I'll do the full screens again. Right now, I'm going to do it like this. I hope that's okay. I popped up to 15 minutes on this video because it's all, just some shilling for their channel and their upcoming stuff, all that. We get it, Donnie. You have a channel, you do panels and debates, just content like this. So he was doing this stream. I just happened to pop in to bug him mostly. I question the things he's saying from the side chat. He doesn't respond to me. It's not anymore. He responded to me as Brain Bug, but doesn't really respond to me as Bumblebee or as HiveScience. So I don't know if it's. I think he does know that I'm the same person though. So whatever it is, Donnie. If you want to engage with me, go right ahead. But we're going to engage with you. Mm-hmm.
Seminar reception so far. Like, then your biz. I don't know if you can see me. There you go. Evolutionist tears. This is what keeps me going strong. This is how I do. 12 hours.
Evolutionist tears.
Content in a couple days. Better than any cup of coffee. So the best evidence for evolution: debunked, dismantled, decimated. Whatever words you want to use to describe it. But the question is going to be, what do we mean by evolution, right? Evidence for evolution, question mark. Well, it depends what you mean by evolution. And proponents, guardians, defenders of evolution, the defenders of evolution.
I do that too. I just don't have the software to do it right now. Purple. I have a whole back catalog. I do a clipped session of Cryptic Corner on Friday nights. I do a clipped session, or do the clipped section of Creation Watch on Wednesday nights, and then on Monday I'll do whatever spare topic that we talk about, whatever we HiveScience about. Sometimes that topic didn't turn out to be anything enough for me to engage with. But yeah, I do that. I'm just not in a place where I can do it right now. But that's good because I'm building up a back catalog, and that way I can once I get all this edited out, I'll have weeks and weeks in advance of cut material to release. And now it's easier to cite those two, to cite where I've discussed this topic or that topic when I have them in little videos and just send somebody out to a 2 or 3 hour stream that I did and say, yeah, it's somewhere in there. Just in general. All right, back to Donnie. What was he saying?
And that's going to be their villain title. We'll be the guardians of creation. So proponents of evolution are guilty of assuming change over time
needs large.
It's not a see. That's what I was talking about. Assume in that last little article, the last topic we just covered, we were talking about tulpas. You just assume things. No, we don't assume things. We interpret things and we infer things from the data sets that we receive from multiple fields of science. So we get a geological layer with a fossil in it, and we say, "Hey, how is this rock? Hey, what's this rock from? Hey, there's an ecology trapped inside these rocks with pollen and spores that we can." Tell what kind of environment that this was. Hey, this bone is from this organism that we found in this layer of rock on this continent, and now it's over here. So we can make all kinds of inferences. It's the same as like a detective investigating a crime scene. You know, you see blood splatter, you see footprints, you see a vent blowing this way or that way. Just different things that that can affect the scene and tell us what happened and how these events played out, even if they were millions of years ago and frozen in stone.
Scale evolution is true. Okay, guys, change over time is not disputed. We know that all kinds of things change over time, right? Cars can change over time. Our cell phones change over time. The way we think about certain things changes over time. So if by evolution...
I'm confused here with what he's got on the screen, actually. Can you see my mouse? Can you see my mouse when it's going over the screen? Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I'm confused because he's got domestic dog, coyote, and wolf. That's not an evolutionary line of descent there. These coyotes are domestic dogs and wolves are the same species. Coyotes are in the same genus, but they're different species. But he's got this as fairy tale over here. You got your banana and your pony and flowers and stuff. But there's a wolf and a domestic dog as well. Oh yeah, mosquito and a whale, or dolphin. Because orcas are dolphins, but dolphins are whales, so are cetacins. If you want to keep cetacins as a monophyletic category, then dolphins are a type of whale. But we'll get more into nested cladistics as we go along, I promise. But a wolf and a dog, I think that according to this over here, Donnie agrees with that. So I don't know why they're over here. Maybe because he thinks that Donnie think that we were like, oh yeah, a wolf evolved into a horse and then a domestic dog. I don't know. I hope he doesn't think a wolf evolved into he doesn't think a wolf evolved into a coyote and then a domestic dog.
Evolution. The evolutionist means change over time.
Right.
The biological definition of evolution simply means changes in allele frequencies in populations over time or over generations.
No, it also means over geographic and ecological gradient as well. They can be in the same location and retain the same allele frequencies, but when a group moves into another region, another biome, even the same type of biome in another location on a landmass, other pressures even the smallest pressures can cause a different allele frequency to take hold in the population, and you have a new distinct group with a distinct frequency in their alleles, and as those accumulate over time, speciation occurs. These are not things that Donnie understands.
There's nothing to argue over. That is not disputed. Change over time is not disputed. Okay, we as biblical creationists, we expect change. But the question is, what type of change is being observed? Is it the type that's consistent with the biblical model of ancestry? Or is it the type of change that is consistent and necessary for pond scum to people evolution, to take your fish, to fishermen?
So Donnie likes dogs. I like dogs too, Donnie. I enjoy talking about canines. There's a reason, though, I think that Donnie likes to focus on canines. It's because all extant canines have the same body form, right? All the dogs have the same. And again, I'm talking about just within the genus Canis. I don't know where he stands if he believes foxes are a descendant from the same ancestor as dogs and wolves too. That'd be an interesting conversation to have, because foxes have canid traits, but they do have some more what we call basal physiology in comparison to some of the more derived species of canids. And we have foxes that do different behaviors or act different ecologically than wolves. Obviously, behavioral traits are important to designate a species, but two different groups within a species can certainly have different behaviors, especially if they're a social animal, because some of that's cultural. Which makes me think of the whales that brought into fashion wearing a salmon on your head for a couple of months. It's kind of a funny thing. Anyway, I'm ranting again. Let's let Donnie continue to talk.
And basically, the changes we see in terms of allele frequencies, okay, allele frequency changes, it does not equal or equate to evolution, especially the type of evolution.
So you just said biological evolution is changing allele frequencies. And now you said allele frequency change does not count as evolution. So it can't be both. You can't define evolution as a change in allele frequencies and then say a change in allele frequencies isn't evolution. It doesn't work that way. Pick one. If you want to use a different word for it, and then you're going to have to explain what you mean by evolution. And I'm sure what you mean when you say evolution, I wouldn't agree with either. I'm sure across the spectrum of people who accept some level of evolution, I bet Peter wouldn't even agree with your straw man version of evolution. He's a young Earth creationist as well. So, yeah. Anyway, I do like this tree though.
Evolution that you can see here on the evolutionary tree of life, which it's funny. I've had nearly 100 debates on all sorts of topics, but most debates on evolutionary theory and ancestry.
Mm-hmm.
And many evolutionists, more so the uninformed ones, they will at first argue that no, they're not related to mushrooms.
Who's arguing that? If you're talking to someone who is making the claim that we have a last common ancestor with all life on Earth in our model, if you're talking to someone who says that that's not true, then you are just picking on someone who's uninformed and basically talking to someone who doesn't have the necessary knowledge to have the conversations and then using that as a win, I guess, because they don't know these things. It sounds like you're just you're picking on people who aren't educated.
They're not related to banana plants. They're not related to whales or green algae or bacteria.
You are related to whales and green algae and bacteria and mosquitoes. Plants, banana plants. Yeah, you are. You sure are.
Because it sounds silly, because it is silly. But universal common ancestry would say that life is universally, believe it or not, universally related. While the biblical creationists will hold to what's called separate ancestry, okay, which would argue that bacteria and humans, or bacteria and whales, are not related. But evolutionists would say bacteria and whales are related to common ancestry. So yes, a lot of evolutionists, they waste time saying, no, we don't believe that. We don't believe banana plant and whales are related. That's a straw man. And then you show them their universal phylogenetics.
Ooh, I like this one too, but it's so blurry I can't see it. I think I have this one somewhere on my big computer though. Again, if you're talking to someone who says that last common ancestry or that Luca isn't real, then you're talking to someone who doesn't know enough about the conversation to be having the conversation. So you're just bullying them at that point. Talk to someone who knows what they're talking about, Donnie. Talk to me.
Tree of life, and eventually it's like a light bulb going off, and they realize, yes, I do believe that I am related to a banana plant. Okay, I do believe the evolutionists, that is not me, that whales and pine trees are related, and that's basically what universal common ancestry would teach. Okay, as you can see here, you've got that single-celled like ancestor at the bottom of the tree, where you have the origin of life, abiogenesis. But from these lifeless chemicals, you basically get your first single-celled like ancestor, which evolves into a multi-celled ancestor, which evolves into a fish, amphibian, reptile, mammal, monkey, man. Okay, up the tree of life. That's why you see man at the top, with rhinos, elephants over here, jellyfish, octopus. So everything's related according to the universal common ancestry model.
Right.
So for large-scale evolution to be true, you basically need, in terms of genomic changes that are observed, you need those changes to be vertical. But unfortunately, what we see in the genome equates to horizontal changes. What I mean by that is modifications of pre-existing systems and genetic variation is not evidence that single-cell-like ancestors evolved into whales and humans over long.
What do you mean vertical? I don't understand what you mean by that. That you're talking about novel changes, but they have to still use the alphabet. That's like saying that you can't create new words. You can't create a new sentence if you don't create new letters. That's not how it works. It's still a new word. It's still a new species if you rearrange the letters, the alleles, to spell something else. It is. He's going to use this flying analogy here in a second, but it's more like that than anything than flying for sure. And organisms do evolve slowly over time, the ability to fly. And we can talk about that. Absolutely. It's happened 5 or 6 times. So if you want to engage about that, Donnie, we can definitely talk about the evolution of flight over various organisms throughout time. That, yeah, little fit your Superman analogy. But yeah, saying you can't make new sentences by rearranging the letters that exist, by rearranging pre-existing letters. And yeah, every now and then a new letter does pop up in language, or languages evolve and change, and old letters get removed from the genome, and new letters come into play. But that's rare. And when you get a new letter, all of a sudden you have all these new things you can do with that new letter, that new arrangement that helps your descendants to prosper in a different environment. Sometimes that new letter will everything up, and you won't be able to function. You won't be able to reproduce. You're dead. You're done. You're out of the bloodline. But when that letter is successful, when that change in the arrangements of these letters, when these little words are switched around just a little bit, and it works, and the organism's able to thrive in its environment, it passes that on. It's very simple, Donnie. You're overcomplicated. It's not flying. It's not Superman flying.
That's not what we see, and that's not consistent with data. Okay, the types of alterations needed to explain large-scale evolution need to be vertical changes that can create true novelties, expand genetic information, increase.
You can expand that by rearranging existing information that is housed in the genomes. You can rearrange that and create new novel changes that I guess would be considered vertical by whatever you're saying with vertical and horizontal. But you would say it's horizontal because it's using the same information that the predecessor has. Again, there are novel changes that do create new letters or remove them from the genome, but whether or not they take hold in the population is going to be subjective to the pressures that they're under.
Complexity. Again, the observed changes are consistent with the pre-existing capacity for change. And that's what we're going to get into in a little bit, the design diversity model. As you can see here, evolutionists imagine that time can solve all of their problems, right? Over time, a single childlike ancestor can evolve into a whale. But here's the thing. If I told you that Superman could fly quickly through the air, you'd say that's silly. That's myth. That doesn't fit reality. But if I told you Superman could fly slowly through the air, you'd say that's more believable. The evolutionists would say that, basically, because time is the hero of the evolutionists. But more time.
That's not a comparable expression. He can fly slowly through the air. It's not about that if that happens slowly. It's about rate of reproduction. Organisms have a set rate of reproduction, a set rate at which they reach maturity and perform the whatever reproductive process that they go under, whether it's sexual, whether it's asexual, whatever, whether there's pollination involved, all these things that come into play. There's going to be a generational time frame for how quickly that organism reproduces, and thus how quickly these allele changes take hold in the population. And some allele changes may take hold in one population but not in another, or die out in one population because it's not a viable arrangement for the environmental pressures that they're under, or they may integrate themselves with another population with a different feature and create a whole new genetic layout, a whole new set of allele frequencies. A lot of things can come into play. This is nothing like flying slowly through the air. What are you talking about, Donnie?
Actually equals more deleterious mutation accumulation, okay? Because the mechanisms for evolutionary transformation, to take a single cell-like ancestor, move it into a whale over lots of time, mutations, selection, epigenetics, to add the necessary genetic material for natural selection to act upon, that's mutation. Mutations to the evolutionary model is the source for all the genetic variation. But the problem is, most of these mutations turn out to be deleterious, damaging, disease-causing, and also, rather than being absolutely neutral, they are effectively neutral or nearly neutral. That means natural selection, being a limited force, being a stability-inducing force, it keeps a species as strong as it can be, but it's not adding anything.
It doesn't keep a species as strong as it can be. I wouldn't describe it that way anyway, because it's not more like, oh, it's selecting for the the positive traits that are the best. It's just getting rid of the bad ones. That's it. Other things that are neutral, or even stuff that are deleterious but not detrimental, or not fatal, can still take hold in the population for generations and generations. Like albinism's a good example there. You can still procreate if you're albino, but it's not optimal for your species to be albino, especially if you depend on things like camouflage in the wild in order to collect food or hide from predators or find a mate. It's not optimal, but organisms can survive with those genes. They can survive with that defect. So yeah, just to it's not just as cut and dry. They're saying, oh, deleterious is gone, pass on the good stuff. And no, they do take hold and get passed onto the next generation. Things that are not beneficial to you. We have tons of things in our biology right now that are not beneficial to us. You have cells in your body that at some point in time in your life, more likely than not, that are going to turn against you, that are going to mutate and become cancerous and going to kill you. The longer you live, the more likely that is to happen. But by the time you're old and gray, you have already procreated and had your children if you intended to. So it doesn't matter. That does not affect what you pass on to those children, because those effects come into play long after your breeding age.
And selection can't see most mutations. Selection can't see the effectively neutral mutations that are building up over time, leading systems and organisms into genetic sickness. Mutations degrade genetic functionality and information content. Since selection can't see these mutations,
and there's no one's disagreeing that the mutation of genetic defects can't be deleterious and negative to the population. But when they get to a point, it doesn't matter if one mutation caused you to not be able to create a sustainable bloodline in your population, or if multiple organisms or multiple mutations accumulated to a point where you are no longer able to contribute genetically to your population. It doesn't matter whether it's one or an abundance of these mutations. It's not going to make a difference. At that point, you are no longer a viable member of the population, and only the viable members of the population move forward. So the rate of accumulation doesn't really matter whether it's just one deleterious mutation or multiple that cause the organism to die off or to not contribute to the population. The ones that are still contributing to the population have functional genetics. They're not going to be subject to that accumulation. That's why they're still part of the population. I don't understand this argument at all.
Mutations are subject to genetic drift. They spread through populations over time. This means that time, although the evolutionist wants time to be the hero of the plot, is actually the enemy. Because the more time you get, the more extinction and degeneration you get.
Yeah, but you also get viable populations as well. Survival of the fittest, right? We get rid of the ones that can't hang. It's the way that it works. So whether it's one mutation or a suite of mutations that cause an organism to not be able to contribute, it's gone. It doesn't matter anymore.
So no, Superman flying quickly through the air or slowly through the air is still a fairy tale. A single cell-like ancestor evolving into a whale quickly, that's fairy tale. A single cell-like ancestor evolving into a whale slowly, it's still a fairy tale. It's pseudoscience. And you can have trillions of years, and all you're going to get is more extinction, more disease, more degeneration. That is basic. That's what we know about mutations. If you can't show me how it happened, universal common ancestry, common descent, don't tell me that it did happen. If you don't have a mechanism, because your proposed mechanisms, evolutionists, degrade functionality. Your so-called best beneficial mutations turn out to be reductive, turn out to be functionally compromising organisms. All right. If I told you Mary Poppins could fly quickly through the air with her umbrella, you'd admit that that's a fair.
That's just a hollow claim, though, that all the mutations are. Sorry, I already went over it again.
Mary Poppins could fly slowly through the air with an umbrella. You'd say, no, that's not a fairy tale. Evolution is about the slow accumulation of mutations leading to genetic variation that selection can act upon. That's what's going to take your single-celled-like ancestor into a whale. No. Again, slowly.
Did he need the Superman and the Mary Poppins on this slide? Wouldn't one or the other have been sufficient? It's the same because it's the same argument, just with different fictional characters.
It's a fairy tale. It doesn't happen. Grandpa, I'm here to tell you that no, contrary to what the pseudoscientific...
Right. Modern primates, modern monkeys, so to speak, are not our ancestors. We share a common ancestor with them. That's not your grandpa.
The evolutionists want to say this is not your grandpa, and that's what this presentation is going to prove. Evolutionists hope, dream, and imagine that whales and pine trees are related. So again, whether you have trillions of years or thousands of years, evolution is not going to happen. Okay, so I want to go through a couple.
All right, here we get to that. This was the thumbnail when we start talking about the horses. It's not just horses. I just thought the ponies part was funny.
Slides here, just showing the amazing variety in God's.
This is another situation like I was talking about with the dogs, though. So Donnie can wrap his head around this because morphologically, there's not a lot of variety within modern horses. There's only one genus, Equus. So, or sorry, there's only one. Is it one genus or one family? Anyway, correct me if I'm wrong there. But they have a similar morphology. Most of them can interbreed together because they're so whittled down to just these few clades. The other, where are the? So let's talk about horses. Horses evolved in North America, whereas zebras are from Africa. They have been separated by millions of years. They are from completely different corners of the world, yet they can still procreate together if we let them. Because horses, when the other ungulates kind of push their way onto the scene, I'm talking like cattle and caprines and things like that, deer, cervids, these what they call them, even-toed ungulates, kind of push the odd-toed ungulates, our horses, our rhinos, our tapirs, into niche habitats, with a few exceptions. Zebras do really well, but the efficiency of the digestive process, reproductive process, and everything of equids is less efficient in the long run than what, like cattle, their primary competition in their biome. But they still do all right. They still manage to eke out a living. But there's not a lot of diversity among them anymore. There used to be a lot more. There used to be other odd-toed ungulate clades and other equid or horse-like clades that were very different. Some with 3 toes and things like that in the recent past. But yeah, they have lost a lot of their ground to cattle because they kind of put up a better grazing face than the horses do with their multiple stomachs and chewing and whatnot.
Design world, okay? Because in the biblical model, remember, we're looking at the changes. The changes that we see, are they consistent with the evolutionary model, or are they consistent with the evolutionary model or the biblical model? So looking at the chat, looks like everything's good. Okay, appreciate it. So in the biblical creation model, we have God front-loading creatures with what? Well, with the ability to change and adapt to new environments. Guys, if God did not front-load creatures with the ability to vary and to adapt to their environment, species would have gone extinct by now. Ever-changing environments require what? Well,
so these are all descent from one kind, and this is why Donnie likes dogs and zebras. And we're going to get into a different clade here when it comes to why he's picking these. Again, similar morphology. You can look at the horse. You can look at everything from a Clydesdale to a pony, from a Chihuahua to a Saint Bernard, and say, yes, I can see how within a few generations that these organisms evolved from a common ancestor. Not a few generations, but in a few thousand years, I can see how this could be selectively bred for these traits to become dominant in the population. And it doesn't seem, as far-fetched as what we get into when we start looking at some other clades, because not all clades contain or retain the same morphological features that we see in the homologous groupings of equids or canids, who have, through various forms of selective breeding for domestic stock, and isolation and just bottlenecking of organismal groups retained similar genetic material to one another. We'll get
require ever-changing genomes. Adaptation, which is what we see with these changes. But the evolutionists want to erroneously equate adaptation with the evolution of higher life forms, the evolution of novel body plans.
adapting to one's ecological position is the first step to evolution. Once an organism group moves into a new environment with different pressures, the ones who are not adapted to handle those pressures, whether it's solar radiation that again we're talking about the albinos, for instance. Say there's a white morph of an organism that moves into an area, and they all develop skin cancer very young. Yes, some of them will pass on their genes. Some of them will not because the skin cancer hits them too young. The ones with darker complexions will have more success because they don't get cancer as often or as young, and they will pass on their genes. The genes for darker skin complexion comes into play to protect them from solar radiation. And suddenly you have a group that is adapted to a different environment and has a unique set of alleles that aids them in surviving in that environment. Now, your claim is that these types of changes have limitations or that they can't accumulate towards being a new species, and I don't understand why or what you think is standing in the way from, again, that's just one pressure, the solar radiation. There may be other things too. There may be humidity levels that cause heat strokes and ones that have too much fur. There may be it may be cold and they need more fur in this population, and that population they don't. And there's more solar radiation down towards the equator than up towards the poles. There may be pressures to create an enzyme in your saliva to help break your food down for better digestion. There are in opening you up to a new food source. There are so many factors that come into play environmentally, and you're saying your problem is that yes. You can say that, oh, this one thing can happen. They can change their colors, or they can change their size, or they can develop more robust antlers, things like that. That you're like saying, oh, they can't accumulate all these changes over time, over millions of years, to create new species. But you want to say that these individual groupings here that you're showing went through all these changes within a few generations, which is why you stick with things like canids and equids.
No, I'm sorry. We have something called the Cambrian explosion. We have all of these phyla suddenly appearing. Okay, this explosion of new body plans and novel organisms.
No, we don't. That's not what the Cambrian explosion is, and it wasn't an explosion. It happened over 50 million years. Not you're saying that the changes that you are equating to have happened with your model to these groups that we're seeing on the screen right now is supposed to have happened in a few hundred years, but you're mocking the fact that the Cambrian explosion, a period of 50 million years, could have produced a influx of new organisms due to what they call a niche vacuum within the environment once the microbial mat started breaking down there in the Cambrian.
The evolutionary model for a second, the space of time we have available for the evolution of this massive amount of variation and complexity is tiny. To take a land mammal into a whale over time, according to the evolutionary model, took about 10 million years. While getting jellyfish and coral and trilobites and all of this phyla, all of these massively different organisms, phylum level differences occurred in a moment.
It wasn't a moment. It wasn't. The explosion is on a geological time period. So I think what I hear mostly is 23 or something like that, or 20 to 50 million years, leading more towards the 50 million side of things for the Cambrian explosion. You just admitted that the changes from a land organism to a aquatic organisms, as with the whales, took place in less than 10 million years, but you're having a hard time wrapping your head around how simple organisms can develop hard bodies within 50 million years. This argument is not the win you think it is.
Explosion. And it's not just the Cambrian explosion. We see explosions all throughout fossil records. The fossil record is not...
It is called niche vacuums, which are the result of extinction events, not necessarily global extinction events, but those are the most famous niche vacuums, like the Great Dying, the PK, the PK. Why am the tertiary? The PKT. Yeah, the one that killed dinosaurs. Those are the two big ones that most people think about. Those created niche vacuums where new groups of organisms could move into roles that were formerly held by previous organisms that died in the extinction event. When there's a major extinction event like that, it kills out the specialists, the ones who have evolved to live in this environment and consume this type of nourishment exclusively. They do not survive well in extinction events. Generalists do. Generalists like our ancestors, which were very similar to tree shrews, like the ancestors, the things that survived of the equids, their early ancestors, little almost rodent-like organisms that filled a similar niche to that. But all of a sudden, the large grazer niche opened up, and these guys were able to nourish themselves off plant material, and no competition led to larger body size and more efficient walking to cover more ground and graze further. So suddenly we have horses. That's why when after an extinction event, we have such rapid evolutionary changes. But the rapid evolution that takes place after these extinctions is nowhere near as fast as the evolution that you're going to claim takes place when animals climb off the ark.
Not evidence for evolution. The fossil record, what we see is stasis, sudden appearance, the explosion of novel body plans, okay, consistent with creation. And again, the best way to determine ancestry anyways is through genetics. It's genes, traits, and genetics that are inherited from it. Not a rock, not geography, not a bone. And that is why looking at a bone without the genetics, without breed.
That's like saying a murder scene or a murder is not about the murder scene, just about the body. No, you need to examine the murder scene too, buddy.
It's going to be incredibly difficult to determine what is the result of homology or what is the result of convergent evolution.
It is difficult to determine what is homology and what is divergent evolution. And we've had some surprises when we've mapped genomes. That's true. That's moving forward.
Because today we understand that there oftentimes exists more variation within the same species than across species. If every single dog breed today, what is there, about 400 of them, were to drown in a flood, and thousands of years later, the bones of these dogs, from your Great Dane to your Husky to your Chihuahua, were dug up, you get all kinds of erroneous conclusions. This evolved into this. This is.
Well, they'd all be in the same layer, so they wouldn't say that each species was the ancestor of the previous one. But I think that they could map out the domestication process and the foreshortening of. I think I had a video actually I pulled up of that. I have all these tabs open to go over stuff that he says, but I didn't even really need it. Is this it? It was showing literal in the changes of a dog's physiology over generations of domestication process. The foreshortening of the nose, you get shorter muzzles and things like this. This reminds me of my belly beast. I sure miss her. She's so cute. Anyway, so yeah, we can visually see the changes that take place in the domestication process, and those would be, at least to some extent, retained in the fossil record. There may be holes like what we have in the fossil record now, where certain generations or certain, I guess in this case, dogs, certain stages of the breeding process didn't make it into the fossil record, but we could probably track that. I don't know that they would say they're different species because we understand that domestication does lead to rapid morphological changes. So I don't know that would be the case, that they'd say, hey, these are two different species because they found a Shih Tzu skull and a Mastiff skull or something like that. They would say, hey, look how good this the human species was at creating new morphologies for these organisms for different purposes. Or maybe say, hey, look how impressively plastic the dog's genome is, that the humans were able to domesticate it in all these different directions to serve these different purposes.
Related to this, even though they all belong to the domestic dog category. And that's what we see in the fossil record, is they've accidentally taken different bones. I believe there was a variation of Tyrannosaurus rex, And it was actually the same species, the same creature, but in different stages of its life. Okay, and adulthood, a younger dinosaur. The erroneously concluded that these are multiple species, but then they determined.
Yeah. So what he's talking about here is what we have called Nanotyrannus. It actually made an appearance in a documentary in the 2000s. Now, they now believe that Nanotyrannus is a juvenile form of Tyrannosaurus rex that fills a completely different ecological niche and thus has different morphology to help it as a smaller game hunter. Whereas when they reach maturity, they reach full T-Rex size, they have a completely different ecological niche which they fill. It keeps them at a competition with their with members of their own species. Why they grow, but it does lead to them having some physiological characteristics that are surprising because they are built more like pursuit predators. They are more similar to the smaller species like Adaplosaurus, like the smaller pursuit Tyrannosaurus. Because you look at something big like Tyrannosaurus Rex, we don't see it as necessarily something that would be a fast-moving pursuit predator. More maybe holding like a niche, like a bear or a big cat, where it's doing ambushes on its prey. But that's why they had this distinction between the two, and it's a fascinating discovery that it was the same species. I think that's a good thing in science. I don't think that means, oh, let's throw everything we know about speciation out, because organisms at various stages in their development fill different ecological niches and have physiological characteristics to aid them in surviving in those niches.
Because remember, fossil records, low quality, low confidence science. They ended up realizing, oops, this is the same species. This is the same creature, just in different stages of its life. But they said it's different species. This is how
saying that fossil records is low quality, would you consider like fingerprint records as low quality? Because that's essentially what it is. It's like, hey, we have the historical fingerprints of these organisms and how they developed throughout the history of life on this earth. Is that not a good quality of evidence where they're leaving like trace remains of their existence and how they lived, where they lived, what they ate, what ate them, how they interacted with other organisms, how their social hierarchy was, what their brain function levels were? We can tell whether they were social, whether they what spectrums of light they could see, and just from their bones. Hell, we can tell what color some things were if we have any skin or fur impressions on the fossils alone. Low quality, my ass.
Weak the fossil record is, okay? And they have no good answer for the Cambrian explosion. A phylum level event like we see in the Cambrian explosion would require an astronomical number of evolutionary experiments and misfits. Okay, and yet we have no evidence for these novel body plans and creatures popping up in the Cambrian explosion. Again, the fossil record shows a stasis and sudden appearance.
Hey, PZ, glad you showed up for me to torture you. Sorry, I only have one screen, so I haven't been popping out to the side chat as much as possible, but it's good to see you, Mr. PZ Myers. Body plans don't rescue the Bible. They're all related, and the Bible says nothing about body plans anyway, right? Genes, he thinks genes save his bullshit. Nothing can save Donnie's bullshit, PZ. Darwin himself pointed out pin varieties would be seen as multiple species if we were only to use the skeletons. So, yeah, and I think that, genetics and then genetic studies would say, hey, no, these are all the same species. Right. Anyway. Moving on.
And not large-scale evolution. It is going to be in the world of genetics that we can best answer this question of ancestry. And so with the fossil record out of the way...
I don't disagree, but I think the fossil record is a level of evidence that supports that. And we can discern a lot about an organism and the way it interacted with its environment based on the fossil record that we're not going to get from its genetics.
That's what I mean we want to focus on. Very true. Doki. Okay, so right here, you see a great variety. You see a great variety of, for example, equids. Because again, in the biblical creation model...
I don't see a great variety in equids. I don't know what variety you're seeing. I see maybe some differences in size, overall size and coat patterns.
God creating the original created archetypes with huge levels of what's called heterozygosity, a state of DNA diversity. This way, species can adapt to their environment. Because again, if they did not have pre-existing genetic diversity, the ability to change and vary.
What caused that to stop, though? Why are we not seeing, like when zebras move into a new environment, them not evolving to have a donkey coat pattern because it's efficient for that? Why are they not developing spots when they're in the forest? There are things that we would expect to see if the rapid type of heterozygosity that you claim to exist was an effect on the organisms that climbed off the Bible and these set little Barraman, or I say Barraman, I don't know if that's the term you use, Donnie, but these kinds groups that or preloaded with all this variation, but yet we do not see them expressing this variation or this ability to change and adapt at this rapid level that you're claiming happens. That's not recognized anywhere that we're seeing that.
They go extinct rapidly. And so adaptation is actually evidence of God's brilliance and ability to think ahead. If you want evidence for God, look for evidence of forward thinking, and look for evidence of forward thinking in the genome.
Oh,
right?
bovids.
Especially with the so-called junk DNA areas of our genome.
So are all bovids a kind, or are you saying based on this image, are you saying that buffalo are their own kind, separate from other bovids? Bison and boss, or bison and boss in the same, are they the same kind? What about other members of the cattle group? When we talk about antelope, are antelope and cattle the same kind? Because there are bovids that can interbreed with antelope. So are they the same kind then? So now we got antelope and bovids and cows and buffalo, all the same kind, all the same organism, going through very, very, very different developments in just a few short 1,000 years from, again, the smallest antelopes are the size of house cats, whereas the biggest buffaloes are tons in weight, all within a few thousand years. This is your evolutionary model. All this happened in 1,000 years, but they stopped now. They stopped changing and adapting to their environment. Some miraculous force came along as soon as we started recording the different species that we see on the planet and stopped them from doing all these rapid changing that they had been doing for thousands of years, with new species emerging from each generation with completely different physiological features, adapted for completely different environmental biomes, all taking place within a few thousand years around the globe. When we're talking about our ungulates here, when we're talking about our cattle here, when we're talking about antelopes, and then you get into things that are feeling the same niche and have genetic similarity, like cervids to bovids or caprines, goats and sheep. There's a lot of unanswered questions that you're raising here, Donnie.
We understand that what used to be some of their best arguments, like pseudogenes, which they used to say, well, we've got these pseudogenes, these shared genetic mistakes between humans and chimpanzees, and therefore we must have inherited them from a common ancestor roughly 6 to 10 million years ago. And so those shared pseudogenes are evidence of that relationship because they've been passed down. But it turns out that pseudogenes represent functional DNA units. Okay? Functional DNA elements necessary to sustain healthy life processes in the cell. We see the same thing with endogenous retroviruses, or loose sequences, all types of non-coding RNA genes. This all screams of forward thinking because a lot of these DNA elements are only called upon and manifested under certain situations, certain environmental conditions. Okay, why that's important is it's very simple.
Yes, Mr. Lizard brings up a good point. I wonder if Donnie would consider a dodo as being in the pigeon kind, and that's why he focuses on things like dogs and horses, because the wild ancestors and wild cousins of Equus, the domestic horses, domestic dogs, canines, have a similar physiological appearance. But when we get to the things that have a lot of variety, like we're in cattle right now, where there's a lot of physiological variety based on the ecology of the organism, then that's where his argument falls apart, because now we're going to need to divide cattle up into different groups. But unless he wants to make the claim that these little swamp dwelling antelope that are tiny are descended from the same kind as the giant water buffaloes that are several tons in weight. Yeah. Bovine kind. Yeah. So we have bovine kind. where were we? Sorry. Can two different kinds reproduce with each other? That's the question, right? So I don't think they can. So now we got to, because bovids can reproduce with other groups. So would antelopes be under bovid kind? Is that the claim? All right. Sorry, I keep pausing, but you're raising some great questions, Mr. Lizard. Thank you. PZ, of course, Ring.
Similar to, let's say, the spare tire in the back of your car, right? At first glance, the evolutionists would say, well, why do you got an extra tire? You've already got your 4 tires, they're working, your car's working fine, that's redundant, it's junk, evolution left over. But no, if you enter an environment where you get a flat tire, then guess what? Thank God you have that spare tire that was put there by human engineers.
No, we understand that. That's why we're jealous of the axolotl, because they can regrow their limbs and we can't. So we understand the benefits of having a spare tire.
Due to forward thinking. And that's what we have in the genomes of living organisms, is evidence for forward thinking that points us back to the forward.
That's a good point, because why did God give the axolotl this forward thinking that, hey, if they lose their limbs, we'll let them regrow it, but didn't give it to any of the other tetrapods?
Sure. Okay. All of this change we see, design diversity, it's based on pre-programmed genetic algorithms. So yes, change is true. Here we go. A variety of cats.
Cats. This is the place where things kind of fall apart for you, Donnie. Cats form a rudimentary ring species, because you'll see in the top right, we have a cat that has many common names. It's a puma concolor, the cougar, the puma, the panther, mountain lion, depending on what you want to call it. Now, it is considered the largest of the small cats. Cats are divided into 2 groups. You got your felines and pantherines. The felines being the small cats, the pantherines being the big cats. Big cats include tigers, leopards, lions, jaguars, and snow leopards. There's also Neophilus, but we're not going to get into Neophilus. It's kind of its own thing. That's the clouded leopards. They are a kind of outgroup from the big cats. We'll leave that alone where it is. Then you got your small cats, which is everything from your house cat, your bobcats, fishing cats, wild cats, your Jeffrey's cats, which is what we're seeing here on the left in the center, a caracal, which is below that, a serval, which is in the middle on the bottom there. And then obviously you have this other outgroup, the cheetahs, which are on the right in the middle. Now, the puma is closest in relation genetically to the jaguarundi, which is very much in line with what we expect with a small cat. As a matter of fact, they're in the same genus. It's Puma anga or something like that. Anyway, the jaguarundi is a smaller cousin of the cougar. Now the cougar can reproduce offspring with a big cat, with leopards. They've bred cougars and leopards together, created babies. They were dwarfs called pumapards. They were very small compared to either of their parents, and they were not healthy. And I believe that one did reach adulthood. I don't know how long it lived, but they were not a viable. If they had produced like what you do when you breed a lion and a tiger, something big, then they probably would have went with it and said, oh, this is impressive. But since they were dwarfs and small, it was not really impressive. And the people that breed hybrids weren't really interested in pursuing that. Now, the cheetah, as far as the old world goes, is the closest relative to the puma. But for some reason, cheetahs and leopards cannot reproduce, and cheetahs and pumas cannot reproduce together, because the cheetah has been specialized and bottlenecked so much that its genetics are so unique that it can no longer procreate with its closest living ancestors. Yet the puma is definitely felidae, and pending the size restraints, because it's so much bigger than all other species of felids, it could produce viable hybrid offsprings with a variety of species of felines. So it kind of bridges that gap between these two groups, which are completely different subfamilies. But all of this variety and change is supposed to have happened within a few thousand years, according to Donnie's model. one pair of cats got off the ark, got busy making tigers and lions and servals and bobcats and cougars, which span this whole weird genetic gap and fill an ecological niche that the leopard would fill in the old world because it was empty and needed a ambush predator to fill it. And all this happened in just a few thousand years.
Dogs, a variety of, it's funny because the evolution want to point to a variety of equids or horses, variety of cat, variety of roses, apples, strawberries, and conclude because of the incredible variation that we see that arose simply because of the pre-existing capacity to vary. That means in their mind, right? Darwin saw a variety of finches, and he concluded that finches and banana plants are related to common ancestry. No, Darwin. That proves that we have a variety of finches. Finches can change. Cats.
Yeah, but I've heard that too, Mr. Lizard. That feliform, that some argue that feliform was a kind, not even just the cats, but feliform as a whole, which would mean that hyenas and cats and civets and mongoose all emerged from the ark from one feliform ancestor and diversified into the variety of cats, hyenas, and civets and mongooses and all these other groupings that we have, especially in relation to Africa and the sub-Indian continent, where they fill all these ecological niche that are in most of the rest of the world filled by caniforms.
Can change. Dogs can change. It doesn't demonstrate that dogs, cats, finches, and strawberries are related through common ancestry. No, that's not science. That's not.
Oh, but dogs and cats do have a common ancestry that we can observe, or that you can observe genetically and within the fossil record and within dental formula, because I'm sure that you agree that dental formulation is diagnostic for grouping animals together, right? Or do you disagree with that? Oh, they have the same teeth because they have the same creator, but you have the same teeth as your mom because you have the same creator, as your dad because you have the same creator. I think that we can say that certain traits are definitely inherited from genetic ancestry, and in that case we can look at the features and characteristics of caniforms and feliforms and draw the conclusion that they shared a common ancestor, and look back through the fossil records. So we look at these genetic traits that say, hey, it looks like these guys had a common ancestor that's diverged at this point from the genes alone, and then we can go to the fossil record and corroborate that. Hey, look, as we go back in time through the geological column that you don't think exists, Donnie, we can see where feliforms and caniforms going back and back become more and more similar in their characteristics till we get to a creature we call them iacids, which have characteristics which could go either way. So yeah, the fossil record corroborates the genetic information that we have to show that feliforms and caniforms have a common ancestor, and together with them form the extant group of carnivora. Now, so we can say, so maybe carnivora, maybe there was a carnivoran that got off the ark first. Maybe it was originally a carnivoran because now we have everything from seals to bobcats to otters to grizzly bears to tigers, wolves and hyenas, civets, weasels, all these organisms descending in just a few thousand years from a common carnivore ancestor that got off the ark. But then we look at, the thing is you look at carnivora, and we start to get into a bit of a murky area with them, because there's other, up until fairly recently, there were other groups of carnivorous cousins to the carnivorans that also filled this large predator niche, the large mammalian predator niche, even in these environments for millions of years. The creodonts are what comes to mind, that jumps out to me specifically, but we also had predatory ungulates at the time, which were related to sheep and or to more closely related to suiforms, I believe, pigs and hippos and things like that, that were competing in this platform too, with qualities and characteristics and genetic markers that indicate a common ancestor with carnivora. And so now we got this grouping of they call Boreotheria, which could be maybe the animal that came off the ark. Maybe it was a Boreothere that created all these because of these genetic markers that we see. The same type of information that we see to say a bobcat and a tiger are related. We can say a bear and a pig are related, for instance. So now we have Larazothere. So maybe it was a Larazothere. At this point, are we seeing where we're going with this? Because I think I made my point.
Possible, since the mechanisms of change that the evolution went to actually degrade genetic functionality. You're not going to get the expansion.
What net mechanisms degrade genetic functionality, though? Because the only thing that survives are the viable offspring with viable genetics.
Of genetic information through degrading mutations. Mutations that result in a single point mutation can kill an organism. But unfortunately for the evolution,
it can, depending on what point. That's why it's a single point mutation. At what point it is going to come into be a factor on what its effect it has on the viability of the organism.
Most mutations are deleterious. They are effectively neutral selection, can't see them. And so they build up over time. So yes, change is true. Adaptation is true. There's no problem with organisms changing. And claiming that evolution is simply change over time is no help to the evolutionist that wants to argue change over time means whales and strawberries are related to common ancestry. Again, the ability to adapt is exactly why we have so many variations in different kinds of creatures. Again, each creature stays its own kind.
And what kind is that, though? Because we just talked about how there are characteristics between feliforms and caniforms that we could put them under the same kind. Why are you putting them under different kinds? What is it about the cats that say, hey, this is a line here, and caniforms are on one side and cats are on the other, or feliforms are on the other? What is that line? What is the line between the cats and the hyenas even? Where are you making this distinction, genetically speaking, to say, hey, this is a kind and that is a kind? Because they share genetic features. And when we in corroboration with the fossil record to show that these animals became more and more similar as we go back in time.
Archetype, right? You have, let's say, two heterozygous cats on board the ark who are front-loaded with genetic diversity and pre-existing DNA differences. From those pre-existing DNA differences, you get, through environmental triggers and stressors, you get all your different cat variations, from your house cat to your tiger to your lion and everything else, your jaguar.
In just a few thousand years, right? And you're talking things going from, and let's be clear about this. A tiger is not just a blown-up house cat with stripes. They have physiological features that are distinct to them. Tigers are large predators of mostly ungulates, so they have powerful shoulder muscles, and they have round pupils, and they have instincts and behavioral drivers to crouch low to the ground and to stir up their prey, a group of prey, and target a weak individual. Small cats, for instance, do not have those robust, massive shoulders because the organisms that they eat are generally smaller than them: songbirds, lizards, and rodents, stuff that are small. So they have more specialized adaptations to catching their prey with their paws, to juggling a fast-moving prey. Their pupils are slitted to aid with keeping a vertical track of an organism as it moves back and forth. It's in pinning down their binocular vision to attack something small and very precise. So there's physiological features that these organisms have that are very distinct that would take generations to evolve. So the claim that they're front-loaded with the organism was front-loaded with both of these ecological types, and that's just two. Cats are have more variety among them. There's ones that fish. There's ones that are not strictly nocturnal. There's ones that have one specific organism that they eat, and that's and nothing else, like what we see with the Canadian lynx and the snowshoe hare. All of these behavioral and physiological characteristics all coming into the emerging from the organism within a few thousand years is quite ridiculous.
All based on the pre-existing ability to adapt and change in the first place. I'm going to keep going with slides here, but I'm thinking if I go full screen, it might be easier to see the details of the pictures. Let me know in the chat if that helps a little bit better. So again, a variety of all types of creatures.
Here we go. Something to read. Heterozygous ancestors. Conversely, the fact that so many nuclear DNA differences were present from the start has tremendous implications for the plausibility of speciation on the young Earth timescale. With millions of DNA differences, massive amounts of DNA variety, encoded into each kind from the start of their existence. The potential for speciation is mind-boggling, but somehow it doesn't happen now. That doesn't happen anymore. It only happened long ago and far away. They think that this mind-boggling speciation that's supposed to happen in the biblical model is where everything evolves into all these different directions in a few thousand years and then just stops and everything stays where it is. Then is a better argument. I'm not sure how that works. Combined with the fact that species can recover enormous population size in a very short amount of time, depending on their generational cycles, I guess. In addition to the fact that the vast majority of DNA sequences within a creature's appear to be functional, these results demonstrate that millions of species in a few thousand years is not only plausible, it's also probable. But then it just stops. They just quit speciating.
Change that we see that leads to this type of variation is due to the pre-existing capacity for this. So that's not going to help take your fish to fishermen. So yes, the archetypes, they varied since the flood, but they have not experienced any real forward evolution. As a matter of fact, this change has limits. And this is what I want to get into next. The evolutionists are constantly asking the question, well, what... just looking at the chat. All right, so it looks good. We'll keep it this way. Thank you, Cheryl. Appreciate that. So we'll keep it this way, especially if some of the pictures are small. Okay, so the other was just constantly asking, what is the limit to the change then, right? If you're never going to get brand new kinds from previous kinds, then where's the limit? You must draw a line. Well, based on the created heterozygosity model, we're going to have what's called shifts in heterozygosity to homozygosity. So if you think about at creation, you have the most heterozygous ancestors. Okay, and from these heterozygous ancestors, which again just means a state of DNA diversity, millions of DNA differences in chromosome pairs. Okay, and new visible traits, new chromosomal combinations can arise based on this pre-existing genetic diversity. This makes sense because when God said to be fruitful and multiply, did He want this to be carried out through cloning? Of course not. Of course not. So Adam and Eve, when the created kinds were created genetically homozygous, that's what they would basically produce, is clones. So God said to be fruitful and multiply, and so it only makes sense that God would have front-loaded Adam and Eve and the created kinds with pre-existing functional heterozygosity. But this change, based on the starting point of design diversity, it is going to have limits. All right, creatures adapt and vary based on the available allelic variability. But species hit walls over time. And this is because you can only have so many shifts in heterozygosity, again, a greater level of diversity, to homozygosity, less genetic diversity and allelic variability. Think of a wolf to a dog. I think generally most creationists would admit or agree that your domestic dogs and wolves, Canis lupus, go back to a common ancestor because from heterozygous wolf archetypes off of the ark, you can get your wolves, your coyotes, your dingoes, and your domestic dogs. But going from a wolf to a chihuahua is ultimately a reduction in allelic variability. Okay, variations hit walls, and a chihuahua is a wall. There's not much you can now do in terms of variation, available variation with a chihuahua.
But we can still create new breeds of dogs. We're doing it all the time. So these walls don't exist. You're dead end with the Chihuahua, but within the same species, you can breed just hypothetically a Chihuahua with a Corgi, and create a new breed, and then you can breed that with a Saint Bernard or something like that. So these walls that you're talking about, I don't see them existing. Let's not with dogs, which you're using as an example, which is a really bad idea considering that they don't exemplify what you're trying to explain.
Never going to be able to take two Chihuahuas and artificially select for a wolf over time. So
you don't have to take two Chihuahuas. You don't have to take two Chihuahuas because they're still the same species as the wolf. You can take anything that's in that. Well, technically anything that's in the Canis genus and get new variety within the Chihuahua genome, and the offspring of that hybrid breed or whatever, of that cross breed, would be healthier than a purebred Chihuahua because of the genetic bottlenecking caused by the domestication process.
In the biblical creation model, speciation is expected to slow down over time since the available heterozygosity decreases over time. We as biblical creationists, we look back to the creation event.
But somehow with dogs, it didn't, because we still create new breeds. I don't remember seeing any Labradoodles when I was a child, but there's Labradoodles on every corner now. We are still mixing and matching alleles of dogs to create new and distinct breeds. It hasn't slowed down. It's just in the domestic aspect of things. It's all these walls don't exist. We are still able to create new varieties of organisms in the wild. Obviously, in our model, it makes sense because we're not artificially picking and choosing the features, that it's just whatever makes it through the filter. So that's sensible. That's what our model shows. Whereas your model shows that that they climbed up the arc, rapid speciation, and then you would say it was due to genetic degradation that they stopped speciating so much. But why are we still able to pull it off in an artificial environment? If that would indicate to me that the genetic diversity is still there within the genomes of these organisms that aren't changing, that have stopped changing, yet they still have the genetic diversity built into their genomes. It's just not taking hold in the wild because the static condition of our environment allows them to be stable and not need to speciate.
And we see an expansion of allelic variability. Notice here, scenario 1, DNA copies are different, which can lead to variation. That is a heterozygous state. Versus scenario 2, DNA copies are the same, a homozygous state, where you're going to get no variation, a state of no DNA diversity, basically. Okay? So, right here, be fruitful and multiply, makes sense of this command here. Nuclear DNA, your autosomal DNA, where we have recombination, as you can see.
Nuclear DNA is inherited from the ancestor. Mitochondrial DNA is inherited from a single lineage. Yeah, that's fine. He's probably not going to talk about horizontal gene transfer, but that's another factor that we're missing from this.
Inherited from all ancestors. It's biparentally inherited DNA. Your uniparentally inherited DNA, we're going to touch on later, your mitochondrial DNA and your Y chromosome. So right here, genetic limits. Furthermore, the front loading of genetic information at the creation event also naturally sets limits on the speciation process. Since most of the genetic variety we see today goes back to the creation week, formation of new kinds, right, higher categorization, such as at the family level, right, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. We're going to get into classification soon. Would require a massive, miraculous input of new genetic information. Because again, you can only have so many shifts in heterozygosity to homozygosity before you hit a wall.
This is legit Pokemon nonsense here that we're dealing with Donnie laying out. So he's like this idea of this rapid evolution. They come off the arc, and you can basically train your kind, your Pokemon, to adapt to any environment. You're like, oh, I'm gonna throw my Bulbasaur into this environment, so it evolves to be throw it into the water, so it evolves to be a water Bulbasaur, and throw it into the jungle, so it's a jungle one. And that's how this happened with these organisms, and they were front loaded with, okay, if we live in the water, we turn this way. If we live in the jungle, we turn that way. And making this claim that and then once you evolve your Pokemon towards that environment, you can't go back, is essentially the claim. But you could take the jungle Pokemon and the water Pokemon and breed them together and make, like, I don't know, a swamp Pokemon or something, swamp Bulbasaur. Just using that as an example, that they don't lose that ability to still interbreed with the other populations immediately. That's only after speciation happens, which you don't believe happens. So they should always be able to breed together. So these dead-end walls that you're talking about don't seem to exist, because a tiger and a cat should be genetically viable based on your model, that they were front-loaded with this information, but they're still the same kind, so there should still be interfertile.
Under the parameters we just laid out, evolution, as Darwin described, is not possible. Again, it's the evolutionists that explain the vast majority of genetic variation as being the result of what? Mutations over time.
Right.
While the creationist explains the vast majority of DNA diversity as being the result of created nuclear heterozygosity. That means the beneficial diversity, for the most part, is due.
Yeah, but the problem with nuclear heterozygosity is that it's still retained in the population, even if it isn't expressed. So you could have a heterozygous feature that isn't expressed in you specifically, but may be expressed in your offspring or the future generations of your offspring. So they don't just disappear because they're not expressed.
Due to initial design. But the negative diversity that we see over time that accumulates, that is due to mutations, because mutations degrade, mutations lead to disease, mutations are functionally compromising to organisms. Notice this, it represents a scientifically superior explanation to any that Darwin or his scientific descendants have proposed to date. Exactly, this model, and this is where I want to move on to testable predictions. This model leads to testable and falsifiable predictions, which again is the gold
we need testable and falsifiable predictions. Hit me with them.
standard of science. Okay, and it's creations based on this starting point of design diversity that are making testable predictions on DNA function and the trajectory of discovery when it comes to.
I don't know. So the term junk DNA, I don't know. It's been my experience that wasn't that is more of a derivative from the young Earth creationist community. I mean, I guess I've heard the term junk DNA to describe the genetic information or genetic frequencies that we don't know exactly what their functions were. But I don't know that just based on this meme, not anything he's saying. I just don't like the term junk DNA because just because we don't understand what something's doing or how it's working doesn't mean it's junk. And like I was just saying before, with your heterozygous model, there should be retaining these other allelic characteristics that aren't being expressed within the gene. So that information would be in junk DNA as well.
DNA function actually favors genome-wide functionality. We understand that most of our genome has tremendous evidence for biochemical activity and biochemical function. I've touched quite a bit on this in my books, previous lectures, and debates. This is important because if design diversity is true, then an obvious prediction would be that the vast majority of DNA elements, DNA sequences, is functional and beneficial. And that's exactly what we see with the best so-called lines of evidence for evolution. Endogenous retroviruses represent highly functional DNA units. Allele sequences represent highly functional DNA units. Functional, okay, when it comes to ERVs, functional in embryological development, functional in determining cell type.
Right.
Functional in gene expression, they act as antiviral protectors, they act in tumor suppression, that's just to name a few.
Okay.
And the evolutionists are incapable of showing any non-functional endogenous retroviruses going from non-functional or even altering their pre-existing function.
That's because if
something that is literally,
because if they're non-functional and deleterious, they're going to be removed from the genome. And viruses aren't just in certain things willy-nilly.
really needed in the organism to survive. Because I have papers demonstrating that even the secular scientists admit without endogenous retrovirus elements, we couldn't exist. I like to exist. The evolutionist likes to exist. Everybody in the chat hopefully likes to exist. Without ERVs, we literally wouldn't exist.
Right, because they're part of our genetic structure now.
And this is all part of the design diversity prediction. Pseudogenes, same thing. They represent functional units of DNA. So again, it was in 2012, as a matter of fact, that the ENCODE project came out, with remarkable findings indicating that upwards of 80% of the human genome was active to some extent. Okay, this is biochemical function. And it was surprising to discover that the genome consists of only about 20,000 genes. This was not an expected or anticipated number. We now know that the vast portion of the human genome are non-coding DNA sequences that don't directly code for protein products. This is a major reason why so many in the evolutionary community assume that most of the human genome constituted what? Useless evolutionary baggage. Remember, if what we see is the result of...
That's not even... no, that's not even a position that's ever been the mainstream, that the majority of our DNA doesn't. It's been that we don't know what these genes are doing. Sure. There's been, hey, we don't know what this function is, or hey, we thought this functioned in this way and it doesn't. And maybe maybe we don't know all of the functions of all the genes, but I don't know that anybody ever claimed that they must be junk at that point. Now, that's not to say that there can't be non-functional genetics in there, or genetics that aren't functional within or expressed within you, but could take a hold in a future generation.
Millions of years of descent with modification, then the genomes of living organisms should reflect that. And so a direct expectation from the evolutionary model, this model right here, Fisherman evolution, would be lots of evolutionary leftovers, genomic fossils, viral fossils. Yet that's not what we find. We find the opposite. We find genomes of treasure rather than genomes of junk. And this is why your militant evolutionists fight the evidence so strongly in favor of genome-wide functionality. Because again, even when it comes to mutation accumulation, guys, they've done numerical simulations where even if the genome was only 10% functional.
If you haven't noticed yet, that most of Donnie's presentation is just buzzwords about young Earth creationist concepts that have been long since debunked or just don't work in any model of reality, but they sound good. If you pay attention, that's mostly what Donnie's arguments are here.
Degeneration would be inevitable. Organisms would descend into genetic sickness.
Degeneration is inevitable. We do have genetic degradation in populations that are weeded out. It's weeded out, Donnie. That's where we're losing you. Those deleterious genetic structures are weeded out of the population in order to have viable ones thrive. They cannot compete with the viable ones, so they are removed from the population. That's how evolution works.
I understand that the genome is somewhere between 60 and 80% functional. That means the evolution's falsified. It can't happen. That's roughly 60 to 80 deleterious mutations accumulating from generation to generation. So again, you can have trillions of years. Time is not the hero of...
Thanks for stopping by, PZ. I'm glad you were able to hang out and suffer through this with me. Happy birthday to Mrs. Myers. It's much better use of your time than listening to this guy's nonsense. Well, I hope that hanging out with me was a good use of your time because I love hanging out with you, PZ. I love seeing you drop by the side chat. You have a good one. We're about done here too. It's 10 minutes till noon. That's when my time slot ends.
But the story of the evolution, the more years you have, the more extinction and degeneration you get. These mutations that accumulate in humans, roughly 100 new mutations per person per generation, with most of those being deleterious, since most of the genome is functional as predicted by the.
It does not mean that those mutations necessarily get passed on to the next generation of offspring, though. It's because you have novel mutations within your genome as an individual does not mean that those will be moved forward into the population. Those could live and die with you, and you could produce offspring that doesn't have those mutations.
Design diversity or created heterozygosity.
Obviously, you can produce offspring that does have those mutations too. I don't want to say that, but that's not guaranteed. That's not the way that genetics work.
Hypothesis. So again, the evolutionists require genomes of junk in order that the genomes of living organisms can reflect descent with modification. I hope that makes sense to the audience. All right. And what they've actually advanced in the form of an argument or rebuttal to this amazing evidence for genome-wide activity is that this activity is not actually useless. The transcription is simply spurious, or it's just noise. Okay, it's not important. But the question is, if this is not real beneficial activity, then why is the cell bothering with it? Why is the cell bothering transcribing it?
The cell doesn't think; it just does its thing. It builds what it's supposed to build. Good grief, Donnie. Yeah, it's not thinking about what it needs to do. It's just, hey, this is the genetic information that we have. We're going to build the DNA on this, sperm and egg, all that good stuff. Okay, so it's not thinking, oh, how should I build this? It's just building it. It's building it. That's what it does. That's its function. No thought process. It's not bothering with it. It's just doing it.
This would be incredibly wasteful of resources and energy for the cell.
Seriously, the level of personification put into natural processes from the young Earth creationist corner of things is ridiculous.
Okay, this activity is strong indication that it is useful and beneficial. So this whole argument that suggests most of the transcription taking place in the genome is nearly spurious and just genetic noise, it doesn't make very much sense. Since we recognize that transcribing a portion of the genome is a what? It's a very energy-intensive process. Guys, every time a nucleotide is being added to a growing RNA chain, you are consuming a great deal of energy. These transcripts would clutter up the interior of the cell if they weren't playing any real operational role. So right off the bat, intuitively, this evolutionary rescue device does not make a lot of sense.
I don't even know what you just said about clogging up the genome. That's not how this works. I don't. Maybe me and you need to talk sometime. You can explain what you mean by clogging up. What'd you say? What was the term you used? I'm going to finish up here. This is probably enough, Donnie, for me. Let me hear what he said.
Recognize that transcribing a portion of the genome is a what? It's a very energy-intensive process. Guys, every time a nucleotide is being added to a growing RNA chain, you are consuming a great deal of energy. These transcripts would clutter up the interior of the cell if they weren't playing any real operational role.
Transcripts would clutter. Okay, we'll have to talk about that. Me and you, Donnie. All right. So, yeah, we're coming up on the noon hour, and I am ready to get things going here today. I need to get some things I need to do and such, and do need to prepare a bit for Dr. Ben's stream later. So I will be over there at I believe it's 5. Let me check real quick. And we don't need you anymore, Donnie. Bye. Let's do Dr. Ben. Oh, sooner than I thought. It's about an hour. So, yeah, here in about an hour, I will be over at Ben's. Is there somebody filling in for this portion in between on the fundraiser? Let me check the fundraiser chat because we got a chat going. Make sure. Who is next? Who is next? Is there anybody in the chat here who the Roto Crisper? Is there anybody in the chat here who knows where the next person in the fundraiser is? Because I do not. So if you do, let me know in the side chat. And I will take just a minute to talk about plans for the Hive. Again, I can only hope that next week I have my computer back, but we will see what happens with that. And I don't know what's going to be on the agenda for next week. I'm going to go back to like regular program. I didn't do a HiveScience today because I ended up with that thing from our Tangelo's stream that I wanted to talk about because it was too funny to not bring up. As far as this week, I do have my first appointment with my endocrinologist this week to get my hormones. So got that to look forward to. Goodbye. Goodbye, male hormones. I'm ready to get rid of you. I'm ready to embrace my femininity. I know a lot of people are shocked to find out that I haven't been on hormones yet. This is just my natural, the way that I look, in my natural feminism, femininity, not feminism. I do have feminism too, though. My natural femininity is what you see today, but hopefully we'll be able to supplement that. I'll become even more of a hot chick for you guys. But we'll see what the future holds. Is Ben's thing the next thing? Am I supposed to keep this going until 1? Surely not. I don't want to be the one that drops the ball on it. Yeah. I thought there was a schedule. Thank you, Ring. Yeah, we're just getting started. Just getting started. I just need to know where to send everybody. Maybe did Debs have a give me just a second. I'm going to check and see if Deb's thing had a link to the schedule. Where are you, Mama Deb? I guess I could just go to my library and history. Nope, not that. Not shorts. Where are you, Mama Deb? Oh, I'm in the wrong account. Hold on. Do. This is the high quality of entertainment that you can come to expect from hanging out with the Hive, where I'll spend some of my time looking at my phone. There we go. Purple Fundraiser. Dropping that down. Nope, nothing in the description. Where are my fundraiser peeps? Beck, are you here? The GoFundMe is in the chat. Again, this is to help our friend Purple out today. Yeah, let's message back. Who's taking the torch from here? Somebody just has to fill in for an hour until Ben starts, but I gotta go get ready. I got something I want to eat before I do that because I've been starting my show at 9. It's noon now. I haven't eaten, so I'd like to at least get a little bit of time in between. Just let it go until Ben starts. Okay, I'm going to leave this running for just a minute. I do want to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Okay. Hopefully I'll get a response back. I'll be right back. Oh, hey, Beck. I just wanted to know if I'm supposed to stop here or I just want to go grab a bite before I go on Ben's because we got a fun stream for the laryngeal nerve. Beck or somebody, does anybody want to come in here and just hold this stream open for, I'll come back. I need like 15, 20 minutes. Just somebody come in here and chatter and maybe talk about the fundraiser a little bit and give me about 10, 15 minutes. Let me drop the link here. Okay, so yeah, if somebody wants to pop in and just hang out and talk for a minute, I'll come back and we can talk too. And that way it keeps things going. Anybody at all, pop on in, and we will hang out for a bit. I just don't have any more content, unfortunately, from the Hive. This is I schedule it from 9:30 to noon, so it kind of. I didn't get to talk about chronospecies. I always love to talk about chronospecies with Donnie because he doesn't know anything about them. Yeah, if anybody wants to pop in. Ben's sent me the message for the stream coming up here in an hour. I'm messaging the group for the fundraiser. This is just going to take a second. Thank you so much. I'm not going to drop it here. I want to keep this going. I love purple. I want to keep things going. Oh, there we go. We've got somebody. Let's see who we got. We got Mr. Beck, the trucking man. Hey, Beck. Thank you for popping in.
Yeah. I was listening to your stream and I was snoozing because I haven't slept very good the last few nights, and I heard, "Where's Beck?" And I went, I put my eyes right open.
Sorry, I just so I
No.
scheduled this out till noon. If I had known that I needed another hour, I could have pulled another video or continued talking about Donnie, but I probably would have ate something for breakfast. I just need to go grab a bite. I'll let you and Nate Wolf hold down the fort and just give a schedule of things coming up, and I will be back.
Yeah, that's fine. Mage and I can talk for an hour. How you doing, Mage?
Yeah, not bad.
How's that garden going, buddy?
Yeah, I'm getting rained out every day.
That's a good thing, though. That's what makes the garden happy. Lots of rain, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. You guys.
I mean to do a video on that.
Yeah, I've checked out the last few videos you've done. Looks pretty good, man. Looks like it's coming together.
Thanks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
we're almost
getting better at it, I think.
Close to Amarillo now, right? 15 minutes. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, we're heading up here to Amarillo in about 15, 20 minutes. She get free enough time to get herself something to eat, and then we're gonna stop and fuel up the truck and stuff. So we should just barely work out.
Yeah. No, I was planning on doing
Julie, you can still come in if you want. I'm all
yeah.
Good. They can't let you in. Never mind. I'm used to having power everywhere. I have no power on this channel.
You have no power
I'm,
here.
I'm still listening. If I see Julie pop in,
Oh, okay. Thanks, Bree.
I'll bring her in. I'm eating right here. I just don't like to eat while I'm streaming.
No, you're fine.
And
You're
all of a
fine.
sudden, Gandalf pulls off his.
Yeah, we had to. We went yesterday to Biblical Museum in Dallas, Texas. Stephen and I did, and picked up 5 statues. The first one they gave us was only like 4 feet by like 10 inches wide, and the last one they gave us was 98 inches tall, so a little over 8 foot. It's an angel, and the wingspan is 5 foot across, and she's on a big metal pedestal, and she weighs so much you can't pick her up. Not with three, 4 people, you can't. So Stephen and I had a hell of a time getting some of those statues into the truck. I got her strapped up back there. She looks like a piece of beef I'm trying to hang in between. I got straps going across the truck, front and back, pulling her to this wall, pulling her to that wall, so she won't hit anything. Because if she hits something, a lot of money, lots of money. She's a big bronze statue, and she's on a steel base, and she is heavy. Oh my God! So it's pretty cool, though. We get to see some interesting artwork and sculptures and stuff, and sometimes you look at it and you go, "What the fuck is that?" Some of it's pretty interesting, but it's kind of like a toss-up. So, hi, dog. I see you there. What the beck? And Julie,
Looks like
I
we're
see
up to.
you. Beautiful lady, I miss you.
Let's see. It looks like we're up to $4,740.
Oh, are we? Excellent. Yeah, I originally set it up for purple, just so everybody knows what's going on. I originally set it up for purple, and I said, how much do you want to do it for? Purple's sweet. Didn't want to ask for a lot. And I said, well, I'm going to start it out at $5,000, because that's pretty much the bare minimum for a decent vehicle these days, anyways. And then I said, well, if we get to $5,000.
Yeah, we're up to. We were almost 76% of the way before this whole fundraiser thing even started.
Yeah. Brandon got us to what was it? A little over $2,000.
Yeah, we had an anonymous donor of $2,000 before it started.
I know. I don't know who the hell did it. I don't know. I mean, Jim Barrows,
Nobody knows.
Last night he threw in. Yeah, Jim Barrows threw in like $200 last night. A whole bunch of people were throwing in 100, 200 here and there. Boy, it got us up.
Oh, great.
Quick, so.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everybody. And I appreciate you guys all pitching in time and helping out and keeping her going and stuff. And Purple kind of waited a long time to ask for help, because Purple's so used to helping people and not asking for help that she was kind of hesitant to do it. And she said she needed a little shove, and I said, I got you. So I started to GoFundMe. I shielded out everywhere, and then I gave her the link to it, gave her access, and I said, there you go, baby, it started now.
Can't back out of it now, huh?
She was. I didn't know that she was like wanting me to wait a little bit, and I misunderstood her, and so I thought I was just giving her that nudge, and she goes, well, I guess we're starting it now, and I'm like, yep, it's too late. So, yeah.
Probably needed that nudge anyway.
Yeah, Brooks, I tell you, Ben was saying this last night, and I actually told him this because, Ben's had been in our community for a little over a year, but I've known Purple for about 3.5 years. I think Purple's been on YouTube for like 5 or 6 years, at least. And since the day I entered this community 3.5 years ago, everybody that's needed help, Purple has ran every fundraiser, has been the first one to start it, hanging out through all the different fundraisers, and the last one that ended, and has just put in so much time and effort to help everybody. So, you know, when she came to me and said, hey, you know, I need a hand doing this, I said, oh, you know, we got you. We'll help out as much as we can. So, I do have to say, I was kind of sad we didn't get more streamers, but the people donating have really just been amazing.
How long are we going to be keeping this going?
Just till Sunday at 6 p.m.
No, I mean the fundraiser itself. I mean, I'm obviously this thing will be going.
Well, yeah, the marathon's going to end Sunday night. I had originally cut it off at 6 p.m. and then Kaz from Atheist Edge, I thought I was messaging Jim Hall when I forgot Kaz to the Twitter DM. And then Kaz got a hold of me. Yeah, Kaz went into the spreadsheet and added on.
I'm not talking about the stream. I'm talking about the fundraiser itself. How long until it closes out?
I'm just trying to get her to $7,000 so her soft will.
So whenever we get to $7,000, then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know. You know, there's been so many people hurting right now, and so many fundraisers going on. I didn't know how much of a struggle it was going to be to, you know, get her up there. So we didn't want to ask for too much. You know, just the bare minimum.
Yeah, I mean,
we all know you can't get a good, reliable car that'll last for a few years.
Yeah.
You know, unless you know a guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's less than 5 to 7.
And even then, you never know.
Yeah, you know, I want it to be something reliable. They live in Minnesota, and the winters up there are vicious. And anybody that doesn't know Minnesota weather, like they'll get like 4 to 6 foot of snow drop in 48 hours, and it's like -20 out. Like you're not walked into a doctor's appointment, you know.
Yeah.
And Purple and Soft Girl are both on disability, so they can't afford to pay for Uber and all that stuff, you know. One time I'm paying for Uber, that's food out of their mouths, so that's why I just said, you know, we need to just go ahead and start. So, yeah, but definitely everybody that's donated, you know, sincerely, like, we really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, there's Purple.
You know, if you
Hello.
If you want donated or two, then just show it out. Put it all over your social media. Maybe we'll, you know, get somebody that'll pop some more money in there, and we can get it done and get Purple that car before cold weather hits up there, because they, you know, she's gonna have
Purple.
to
If you scroll up, you should be able to see the link to the StreamYards.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, Julie. More proof that our bodies were not intelligently designed. That's absolutely correct. Oh, right. Let's see what else we got here in the chat page. Is going to be looking for a car for her because he knows about all the mechanical stuff, and he's in a better area, get a better vehicle for that amount of money. So he's going to go, as soon as he's got the money in hand, he's going to start looking for cars for Perps, and then Perps is going to have to, like, drive, what did you say, for 2 or 3 hours to go take a bus or something like that, 2 or 3 hours, and then drive it back. So, you know, I kind of want to account for that, so, because she can't afford to pay for the bus or the gas or whatever, so that's why if we can get closer to 7, great. Let's see here, let's see what's here.
You know, plus having the extra money, you might find something that goes a little over what you might expect.
Yeah,
that usually happens to me.
Yeah, sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you get a lemon, but you know, the higher you go up, you know, past 5, the less chance of getting a lemon. So
yeah, I got lucky with my car. I needed a new car, and my aunt was getting a new car, and she had just gotten like the engine rebuilt on her old car. So she said, "Okay, I'll just give you this car for the price of the engine, and I'll get a new one."
no shit, that's great.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's ever done that for me.
I got lucky with that. It was like perfect timing.
Sometimes I'm just lucky to get a birthday card, Mage, or a smack on the ass or something. That's the truth. So, let's see what we got here in the chat going on. Julie says on a similar note, oh, they're talking about medical stuff, yeah. Convincing, at least not at the current rate of pain and failure. Oh, poor Sandy. Let's see. Oh, hey, Bree, if you're listening, you gotta let Purple in, please. And I don't know if there's anybody else backstage right now. I can't see that. Let's get Purple in here real quick. Yeah, Sandy, I got you, baby. I got you guys. No worries. So how's everybody out there in the chat land? What are you guys doing this weekend? Update us. Tell me there's something fun out there besides work.
There's work.
There's work. Yeah, we're gonna, by the time we get back to New Mexico, back to our stomping grounds, it's gonna be around like 5, 6 p.m. or something. And so I'm just gonna go home and go to bed because I'm so tired. I'll sleep for a few hours so I can get up at midnight and help the overnight folks keep everything going. That's my plan. So maybe sleep like 4 or 5 hours and then get up, and then I'll crash again in the morning when other people take over.
I'm just waiting to crash myself. I only got like 4 hours of sleep last night.
Right? Yeah, I slept 4.5-ish last night. 5 hours the night before that. 4 hours the night before. Yeah, I'm pretty tired. Sometimes your brain just doesn't shut up, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
Mark, it's all
I knocked
work.
myself out with alcohol last night, so.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Oddly enough, I had got myself some British rum only a few days before the early Queen died. So it seemed appropriate. I'm making a little kind of a memorial video, and it's actually talking about the Buckingham Palace as garden.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
I'm making it up as a little memorial.
You're still working on it? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm still working on it.
Good. That's
yeah,
great.
I was gonna be
right
doing I was gonna do something on my fall-winter garden planning, but I might just put that off until next week.
Yeah. I gotta go here in a second. Bree, come let Purple in, Bree. I gotta go fuel up the truck. It's just flipped, Purple. I'm the passenger. Steven's driving, not me. What's the second one? Huh. Didn't even see that exit. Good eye, Steve. Yeah, it's 75 or 76. Yeah, I got another minute here. We're about to pull off the highway. Bree! Let Purple in the stream, Bree!
It's her fundraiser.
Yeah, Sandy told me to say it louder. And so I did, because I listen. And no, Sandy, we do not normally go to North Carolina. We don't go down to the southeast, so the chances of me driving down there are pretty much none to none. We don't even have a set for this one or the next one. No. Okay, yeah, there's one. I'm like, wait, did I fuck that up? Yeah, there you go. There's one up there. Yeah, Sandy's buzzing. Yeah, it must be in the body. I agree, Sandy. What do they call that? Doing number 2, pinching a loaf, talking to a man about a horse. How come they're all about guys? What do the women say? Probably I just got to go potty. Never mind. Oh, man. You know, we're driving through Texas. I've been noticing there's all these towns that have old beat-up, rusty-ass trucks that are sitting in the ground, and they're old, like, 30s and 40s trucks. And you are way too get away from that edge, buddy. And they're all, like, these old, like, 30s and 40s and 50s trucks, and they're just solid rust. And they're just end it going right down in the ground, and they just leave them around everywhere. I'm like, oh, that's great. And you got like graveyards of trucks everywhere, rusting and contaminating the environment. That was your turn, wasn't it? No? Oh, never mind. There's probably another entrance. My bad. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. That's right, Mark. Women don't poop. Purple said, ladies do not mention such matters. And Sandy said, darned if I don't. They don't pass gas. They don't fart either. They get vapors.
There you go.
Ah, vapor. All right, guys, I got to jump off here in a second. Mage, you might have to sing a song.
Oh, boy. You gotta make me sing, huh?
I don't know.
Better find something I can talk about here. What's going on in the news?
I have no idea. I
Queen
avoid
dying.
the news. Yeah, it's all depressing and half of it's lies, so I just kind of avoid it.
Yeah, it's true.
So, it's over there.
Let's see.
I know it's weird. There's an empty one. We're pulling up to the truck stop, and these places, if you find an empty pump, it's a freaking miracle of the lack of God or something. All right. All right. Do we have anybody in? Yeah. Yes, she does, Purple. She really does. All right, guys. I got to jump off for a minute. Maybe just talk to yourself till Bree gets back.
All right.
Sorry, I gotta go, man. I gotta fill up the truck, so I'll be back though. I'm just gonna go to Icon and I'll come back.
Yeah, something you might be interested. Trump tries to pay his lawyer with a horse. He owed the lawyer like something like $2 million, and he claims the horse was worth $5 million. Oh boy. Yeah, that really makes a lot of sense. Hey, Bray, you around? I'm not exactly the most talkative person in the world here. What else we got? Sing a song, huh? What do you do with a drunken sailor? What do you do with a drunken sailor? What do you do with a drunken sailor? Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning, and put him in a longboat till he's sober. Put him in a longboat till he's sober. Put him in a longboat till he's sober. Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning, put him in the bed with the captain's daughter. Put him in the bed with the captain's daughter. Put him in the bed with the captain's daughter. Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning, shave his belly with a rusty razor, shave his belly with a rusty razor, shave his belly with a rusty razor. Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning, put him in the scupper hose pipe bottom, put him in the scupper hose pipe bottom, put him in the scupper hose pipe bottom. Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning. That's what you do with a drunken sailor. That's what you do with a drunken sailor. That's what you do with a drunken sailor. Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning. There's your song. Now I'm sure. Now you can go run away and hear my terrible singing.
I'm just trying to get this damn thing to let me get fuel. Freaking truck stops. Trucks everywhere. Psycho people everywhere. Yeah, not really. It's gonna rain in Texas.
We still have 18 people after me singing. Boy.
Alright, everyone wants to wash the windshield. It'll come out right next. Just hang
Thank
that
you,
up.
Purple.
The other one. Let me get a washer for the windshield. Maybe I can just set you guys up and you can watch me.
There.
There, give me something to stare at.
There we go.
That was pretty good, Mage. I can't even sing that song like that. I don't know all the words.
I have to rearrange some of the words a little bit to get it right, but
Yeah, no, that's fine. You did better than I could. I thought you had it down pat. I never would have known till you told me.
it's one of the
I
few
just
one.
Sorry. I just dropped our fundraiser in my friend's TikTok stream, and she has like 55K followers. So
Nice.
hopefully
Thank you.
that's why I disappeared and
excellent.
didn't
Thank
add you
you.
right away, Purple. I told him it was for my friends needing their car fixed. So hopefully
Yep.
some folks show up or just go out and donate it. That'll be fine with me.
Well, I'm on my laptop up in Sloth Girls, which unfortunately, apparently, this is the only avatar I have available here. So, antique one.
Okay.
But yeah, I've got to keep an eye on Sloth Girl. We have orders from the doctor that if her temperature goes up another ½ degree, we've got to call an ambulance.
Oh, that's not good.
Oh, Purple, damn it.
What's their temperature?
Yeah, so if I disappear suddenly. Well,
Yeah.
it's just if her temperature goes up to 100.4, that's the first indication that her white cell count is plummeting.
Yep.
Ah, I see.
Jesus, Purps.
Yeah, so we've got a letter from her doctor giving instructions to the emergency room staff.
Oh, good. That's good. Good talk. Alright, Stephen, I'm going to run in real quick and I'll be right back.
So, yeah, so hopefully things will remain stable here, but if I suddenly disappear...
You unlocked
I hope so. Oh my gosh, now you got me nervous about that, babe.
Yep, like Sandy says, it's a poison
Back
that
your own
they
hand.
pump into her to try and kill the cancer.
I'm just going to pull up before I get back. I'll be right back.
You know, but it's not real selective on which cells it kills.
Yeah, that's the problem with the chemo.
So,
and this is also part of the why we need to get her a car.
Yeah, because they could be.
Well, yeah, if we had a car, I could take her to the hospital.
Avoid that ambulance bill while she's still
the
in
ambulance
the
is
state.
only, or the hospital's less than a mile away. So with a car, I could probably get her there faster than the ambulance could.
The ambulance is going to charge you $15,000 to do it too.
Yeah, well, at least our insurance should cover that.
That's only for a helicopter ride. They only charge like $600 for that mile.
Only 600. How many miles to the gallon is that?
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that because in New York, when they took my late fiance in on the ambulance, they wound up charging $2,000 for that.
Yeah, but Purple, that's New York. Everything's expensive there.
Yeah, I'm sure it varies with what part of the country you're in, but. Yep, Sloth Girl's not worried about it. She says they'll be covered. So we don't have to worry about the money, at least.
I am glad to hear that. Why is it
but I brought Sammy's son up here with me since I'll be up here all day. And Sammy's son and Petunia can get along much, but...
And let me drop, because we're getting kind of close. We're half an hour now before me and Ben. So let me drop that link in here so everybody knows where to go. Out in the live chat. Don't know.
What?
Are we going to have
neat.
people in
Oh, where
or?
is he? Okay. I just hope he's not just hiding under the bed the whole time here.
No, he's in her bed.
Oh.
Oh, I thought
okay,
you were
good.
talking about where Beck was.
I
I
just
was like,
thought
that's
between
not
you
hiding
and
under a
bed,
bed. He's in the truck depot.
Oh, that's interesting. I just noticed I got a membership to some channel I was on a live stream last night. Huh, interesting.
Oh,
Didn't
crap.
know
I need to go
that.
take my meds. I just forgot. I'll be right
Okay.
back.
Not a channel I should be talking about here. You guys wouldn't like them.
Maybe not.
I'm almost certain you wouldn't.
Oh. I'm trying to think of a joke, but I'm only coming up with dirty ones. I'm trying to think of one not dirty right now. It's not doing very good. Spend too much time in truck stops around other guys.
Well, now you've heard what I do in private, trying to work on getting over the stuttering.
The what?
Stuttering.
Oh!
I do that song to help so I can speak more clearly on videos.
Oh! Well, you do it really good, Mitch.
I actually wasn't aware that you have stuttering issue.
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about cockroaches or something.
Well, you seem to always do really well with it when you're in our chats.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've been
do.
pretty surprised by that. You can hear a little bit in my videos when I'm kind of stopping and starting.
Yeah. It happens.
What the heck?
Oh, an interesting little fun fact: my very first video was actually intended to be played on Purple's channel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
My very first video I ever did was about my tiny home. And yes, folks, they're still up. You can find them in my playlist.
I think I've seen your tiny house videos.
Probably have. A lot of people have.
Went back and gone through your content before, so.
Oh, are you stalking me, beautiful?
Yep. I gotta find out the origin story of Beck. Gotta follow all the threads.
Oh, it's such a long story, Bree. That's why I'm writing a book right now. Well, I haven't worked on it recently. I haven't worked on it the last 2 years, but I'll start working on it. But that's one of the reasons, because I have such a huge story. There's no way to tell it all at once.
Sometimes you gotta take a break from writing your book to live one of the chapters.
Oh, I haven't even got up to the point where I'm born yet, because I'm starting with my ancestors. Well, not ancestors necessarily, great grandparents.
Your predecessors.
Yes, that would be correct. Is there any really horrible food I want here?
Something that'll give you diarrhea, I'm sure.
Ooh.
Yeah, that looks like that's what it'll do.
It'd be great.
That'll kill. That would murder my stomach.
Oh, it doesn't bother me a bit, really.
Oh, honey, I wish I had your belly. I miss being able to eat spicy stuff. And
You know what's funny though, Bree, is my mouth doesn't like it. It can't handle it, but my stomach can't. So I can barely ever eat it.
that's like the opposite for me. My mouth loves it.
No, my tongue hurts so bad if I do that.
Well, I find with spicy foods, hummus seems to work for taking out the heat.
I'm not doing that. That's taking away jobs. I'm gonna come to the cashiers because I'm a jerk.
I can't handle the spicy stuff at all. I'm on meds for the acid reflux.
Hold on, I got a card too. You're too fast for me. Too fast. I gotta pull everything out.
I like the self checkouts because I have public anxiety issues, so I don't like having to engage with people that I don't unless it's my own choice.
Yeah. If I have a few items, I'll do the self checkout.
just it's like a mental health thing for me to be able to do that. So
And
Yeah, I'm the same way, Bree. There are a lot of days that just the fewer people I have to deal with, the better my chances of getting home in one piece.
yeah, I just when you're dealing with your own stuff, you don't want to. I don't want to. I hate people in public asking me if I'm okay and shit like that. It's like, let me. I'm just paying for my groceries, and it's like, mind your business. But I'm not rude to people. I kind of picky about who I interact with personally because the people I've been forced to interact with it always seems like it never goes well. It's the people I choose to have in my life that I have the positive interactions
I'm
with.
glad he feels so comfortable here.
Yeah.
And that she doesn't seem to mind.
Right. I'm glad to have people who are more outgoing in my life, more willing to wanting to engage, like the lovely Beck right there. Beck will talk to anybody. We can't hear you, Beck.
I'm shy and scared to talk to anybody.
Nope,
Sorry
nobody's
about that, people. I gotta get better muting my mic here.
Funny thing is I go up and talk to people and they look at me like, "How are you talking to me?" I don't know. You're a person. And you're standing there and you look like you're sad.
Yeah. I know, and I know these people. That when people come say that stuff to me, they mean well. It's just that if I start talking, I'm going to cry, and if I'm good, if I don't want to cry in the line at the grocery store, I'm when I'm with my friends is when I'm smiling. I have a lot going on right now that's not it's eating me up, and having you guys is so important to me because I don't feel comfortable talking to the most people in my life, the people around me. Going through this in this rural part of the country with the people who are the people here try. They do. They're genuinely nice and kind people. But they don't understand. They're like, I don't believe you're a woman, but I'll call you a woman because I don't want you to be sad. And it's like, no, that doesn't.
I've found, Bree, if I approach somebody in public and they look sad, I just kind of smile at them. And if they say hi to me, then I talk to them. They smile back and turn their head, and I know they don't want to engage, and I leave them alone.
Yeah, I do compliment strangers though.
I just nod at them, smile, and see what they do, and I just play off of that.
Yeah.
Say, hey, how you doing? I'm like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? But
I
they
love.
don't say anything.
I love to compliment people, especially women's outfits. I love saying, "Hey, oh my gosh, I love your dress. Oh my gosh, that top is so cute. That I like how you have your hair scrunchie to match your necklace. Things like that."
Yeah.
People put that thought into what they're wearing and what they're putting on, especially that demographic. So I feel like yes, to acknowledge the effort that people put into their appearance is important. I put a freaking lot of effort into my image, so.
I do the same
I
thing.
had a woman in the thrift store compliment my outfit. But after she walked away, I was thinking that she probably was thinking I nailed the retro look and not that I'd been wearing the same jacket for 15 years.
She probably thought you got it in the retro or in the thrift store. My daughter loves to thrift shop. She's 13 and she just loves to throw her little outfits together with stuff from the thrift store.
Yeah, the thrift store is my only budget for building a new wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you get lucky and you even find things with the original tags still on them.
I know all my friends and stuff are all like, "Oh, you should go on Shine. You should go on and get stuff on this." It's like, yeah, I can't afford that. I have to thrift.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everything you see me wear has pretty much been worn by somebody else before me. But
yeah, I pretty much do that too. If I'm trying to buy something nice, to go out or something, like when I was working for Heather last year, I went and bought some new shirts and stuff. But I don't typically do that. Even when I have money, I'm such a tight ass. I don't want to spend it on myself, so I have to like force myself to go buy something for myself that I want. Like I've been talking about buying some vests and some ties for like a year now, and I haven't done it yet. Because I'm like, well, I don't need
Sandy
it right
said
now.
Bree got my dose of girly vibes. She'll put them to better use than I ever have.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm doing my damnedest.
That's funny. Mark
Oh.
Caesar said complimenting women on their perfumes is a great way to break the ice in my Uber. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're just like, hey, what's that scent you're wearing? I like it. They put thought into this stuff when they're getting ready in the morning. This is
Yeah.
If someone's doing that, it's okay to compliment. Like, they say that's the difference. That's what some people don't understand. Is like you don't say, "Hey, nice tits," or "Wow, look at that ass." But you can compliment the things that not their immutable characteristics, but the things that they do. Treat people that way. Compliment the things they put their effort into, what they care about with their appearance or with their self. And some people don't care about their appearance at all. You have to, maybe find something different to engage them about. But you can tell when someone puts their effort into an outfit or a scent or whatever, and they think, hey, I'm going to spray this on so I smell like this. Because they want something to say, hey, that person smells nice.
Hey, you don't stink.
Yeah, I never cared about my appearance before, and starting to work with the gender therapist, it's like, yeah, that's the dysphoria there that I just didn't want anybody to look at me.
Yeah. Oh, sweetie, I feel that so much.
Hey, Sandy, I don't plan on wearing my ties like tight. I'm gonna go with the loose tie look. Ring. Yeah, actually, Ring, I do say nice tits and nice ass, but only to Heather. Anybody else would probably punch me.
Yeah.
So that's the truth.
Well, it's to me, it's just weird to compliment somebody about their immutable characteristics. The only exception I make is maybe the eyes.
Yeah.
Because that's I don't know what it is about eyes that I can make an exception and say, oh my God, you have gorgeous eyes. But everybody has gorgeous eyes in their own way. Everybody's eyes are unique and freaking fabulous and an ocean of individuality. So, I mean, you can tell everybody they have beautiful eyes.
Oh,
well, if I mention a woman's eyes, it's usually, more of how she did the makeup to highlight them.
Yeah. Aw. Those are bright.
Yeah,
like the eyeshadow and eyeliner. And, yeah.
Yeah, I
put a lot of effort around my eyes
yet.
too.
Yeah, Sloth Girl doesn't wear makeup, so she hasn't been able to really help me much with that stuff. So she did help me pick out some colors last time we were at the store, so.
Cool. That's good.
Well,
it's good to have an outside opinion when you first start doing it.
Well, I'm not good with color matching or color compliments or anything, so I need somebody to kind of tell me which ones go with my skin tone.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All my girlfriend does is she puts on eyeliner and mascara, but honestly, she doesn't need it, and I think she's prettier without it. But she feels good about it, so I don't say anything.
Yeah.
I do tell her. I always say, baby, you don't need that. You're beautiful without it. She said, I like it though, and I'm like, I know. And you look beautiful.
Sandy says, I wish people would ignore the fact that I even have boobs most of the time.
Right.
I can certainly understand that from women, but, for me, I'm still so concerned about my face and particularly the beard shadow that I was joking with Sloth Girl that I should get a shirt that says my boobs are down here.
Yeah, I feel that so bad. Some days I get this 5 o'clock shadow right at the wrong time of day. My problem is that it's a 4 o'clock shadow for me, so it happens that by the time I get out of work every day, shave at 7:30 when I go in, and then by the time I'm walking out of work with the big crowd of people that leave at 4:30 into the sunlight. I have 5 o'clock shadow, and all them girls, they want to talk and stuff on the way out, and I'm like, hiding my face, don't look at me.
That's the
As long
same
as they
with
stay at least
me.
5 feet away, but then they
Yeah.
think that I'm weird.
I shave and it's good for like 6 hours max.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's one good thing about the mask.
Fact.
At least I can wear the mask in all the stores and nobody thinks too much of it, but it hides the chin.
Well, there you go, Bree. Just put on a mask before you leave.
Yeah. Well, if I was going to do that, I'd have to make it not a weird thing. I'd have to wear the mask all day, though, right?
Oh, yeah, that would suck.
So it wasn't like, oh, I'm just trying to. And again, I don't want to draw. I just don't want to draw attention to the fact that I'm trying to cover my beard.
Right. Yeah.
But
why don't you just buy one of those little mini electric shavers and just bring it in with you and go in and trim it
Yeah,
up
that
in the
could
middle of the day or something?
Well, to
I
do
would do
that,
it.
though, you've got to wash off the makeup, then you've got to shave, then you got to put the makeup back on.
Huh?
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
You
sure.
know, because
Well,
I
And you
need
gotta
a
clean up
concealer
your,
and foundation to cover up the beard shadow after I shave.
yeah. And then you got to clean up
Yeah.
the hair that you shave off, like whether I did it at my desk, and
Yeah.
it's not going to be. It's my whole face, so clean up all that
Yeah.
hair. Either in the office bathroom or at my desk at work, and neither one of those situations are really viable. So it's better to just run out like I'm transforming into a werewolf and don't want anybody to notice. It's funny. I just make it out like because there's always those people at work that don't go to the bathroom at work and they leave really fast because they've been holding it all day. So I mean, I guess I could just play it off like I'm doing that. I don't know, why am I worried about freaking pretending see, that's the psychology of this whole freaking mess. It's like I don't want people to know. I'd rather just be a woman to them.
Yeah.
I appreciate the allyship, but come up to me and saying, "Hey, I know you're trans, and I'm your friend." It's like I'd rather you just come to me like, "Oh, I didn't realize you were trans."
Yeah. Mark Caesar's mentioning the expense of the electrolysis. And that's, with whatever we can raise here, I had $2,000 I had saved toward my electrolysis, but that's going to have to go toward the car.
Right. I think my insurance will cover my electrolysis. At least a good
that's
portion.
the one thing here they won't cover. And I got a consultation, and she said it was going to be like 100 hours at $70 an hour just to clear my whole face.
I guess Amber's getting hers done on the NHS, and it's getting done. She's getting her whole legs done and everything. I'm so jelly.
Oh, wow.
My other friend also got hers done on her face, and she was sharing pictures. They do like a strip at a time, like a 2-inch long, about a 1/4 inch wide strips. That's what they were doing on her chin.
Yeah, that's the consultation I got. She was saying they only do like 1 square inch each session.
Mm-hmm. So, like, just to get your chin done, just the main area of your chin would take about 5 visits at that rate.
Yeah, I'm at least lucky with the body hair. I can handle the body hair just with shaving if I could just get the face done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the advantage I had was I already had facial hair starting. I just had to be
Matt, can I ask you a weird question?
Ask.
And feel free to ignore it if you need to. Because you're transitioning. Are you going to go through menopause?
It is supposed to throw me through it. I don't think it's done it yet. I don't have any signs or symptoms of it. But eventually it's supposed to, yeah. But
So Do you ever get concerned about, and I'm not trying to make you concerned about
No, you're fine. You're not going to bother me. Go ahead.
symptoms and needing to take estrogen and stuff like that?
Okay, you blinked. Say that again.
Have you ever thought about the worried that you might have a problematic menopause and need to take estrogen supplements and things?
Don't even worry about it. I don't care. It'll do what it'll do.
Yeah.
I can't
That's
do that.
good.
It would negate the testosterone.
Right.
So I just got to deal. That's the
power
that's the
through
shitty
it.
part. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the shitty part. When it happens, I'm gonna be miserable. Yeah. I mean, I'm already a sweater anyways. I sweat constantly. All I have to do is get up and like do something active, and I just start sweating. So.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and direct everybody over to Dr. Ben's.
All right.
They're going to start over there in 10 minutes. So I'm going to jump in there and touch base with him.
Let's kill this.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us today in the Hive. It's been great. I appreciate Mage and Beck and the Star of the Hour Purple for joining me. And yeah, it's been lots of fun. You all have a good day, okay?
Thanks for hosting, Bree. And remember, guys, if you've donated or already or you cannot afford to, we totally understand. Shill it out. Put it on social media and see if we can get this wrapped up soon. So
yeah, thanks for keeping it going, Bree.
Let's make it happen. Bye, everybody.
Later.